and are not afraid to say it. If you go to jail, so what? If you're black, you were born in jail.
Let's start with the abuse of the power. These cowards plucking black lives like flowers. No remorse, while the screams of our mothers get louder. Each encounter gets encountered with a Facebook Live. And still that's not saving our lives. I ain't making up lies. I know you seeing social media. They beating us and treating us so devious. Shooting us then leaving us. Provoking us then choking us. But wanting respect or want answers with your knees on our neck. I can't breathe. Eating my Skittles while I scribble my notes. Contemplating on how I should vote. Got my back on the ropes. I'm from a hood where we learn from our losses. They come from a hood where they burning them crosses. We ain't the same. Panic's at an all-time high. I try hard saying I won't cry. Leave the house hoping I don't die. Looking up to the sky. Say a prayer hoping I survive. Anthony Hill, 26-year-old war veteran, was at an apartment complex in Atlanta where someone said he was crawling around naked, knocking on doors, acting deranged, so they called the cops. Now instead of showing up and giving this veteran the proper help that he needed, he was shot twice and killed, unarmed and naked. Yo, these kids supposed to be the future, but they shooting them down. Over toy guns and music, they get stretched on the ground. It's cause they skin brown, they gotta drown in their own blood. While these cops getting slapped on the wrist by a judge. No accountability for what we see. Are you kidding me? They don't de-escalate no more, they shoot and go free. Unjustified justification. We playing in funerals while they playing in vacations. They get gratification. One nation. Or just run. If your phone is in your hand, they still screaming a gun. Get your wallet out your pocket, they get scared cause you black. Kicking your door, put two on your back, and have the wrong address. 22-year-old Kane Rogers was shot and killed by a police officer responding to a suspicious person possibly breaking into vehicles. As seen on his dash cam, he swerved in front of Kane's car at the last second, so Kane avoided his car. He jumps out, starts shooting, strikes him, and kills him. He said Kane tried to run him over. Dash cam shows something completely different. People putting pressure on politicians, the plot thickens. Purpose with a passion for past victims. The past hit hard. Scarred hearts in different parts of the country. Graveyards making plenty of money while the scene getting ugly. But see, it don't make sense, cause the expense don't cover the suspense of being colored, while our days are being numbered and our nights are getting tougher. These ages getting younger, everything makes me wonder how we living in the land of the free, but your life is the price. Cops throwing bullet shells like rice, and a routine stop could be the end of your life, cause you don't have the right to be defending your rights. My nephew caught 76 from these pricks cause they flipped. Come to find out, it was nothing he did. Another young man, gunned down and gone. Rest in peace to Jamarion. Word. Jamarion Robinson, 26 years old. He was at his girlfriend's house watching TV when the cops kicked in the door and let off over 100 shots, hitting him 76 times. And all this was captured on Facebook Live. Investigators say somebody actually stood over his body and shot down into him. After they dragged him down the stairs and show his mom a picture of the suspect who allegedly pulled a gun on a cop, who was the wrong person.
This is why I say it's the ballot or the bullet. It's liberty or it's death. It's freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. America today finds herself in a unique situation. Historically, revolutions are bloody. Oh yes, they are. They have never had a bloodless revolution or a non-violent revolution. That don't happen even in Hollywood. It'll be liberty or it'll be death. And if you're not ready to pay that price, don't use the word freedom in your vocabulary.
First and foremost, my heart goes out to the families of Anthony Hill, Kane Rogers, and Jamarion Robinson. If you Google those names, you'll see their stories, you'll see the released pictures and video footage that's out. There's so many other families just in Atlanta alone that are dealing with the same situations of police brutality, where there's no justice as of yet for any of them. I'm not directly connected to them, but I am connected to Monteria Robinson, who is Jamarion's mom. And she's been going hard, man, putting in the work, making sure her son's case doesn't just disappear, helping these other families fight and push their cases. If you would like to help or support, reach out to her on social media. I'm sure she'll get back to you when she has time. She has a lot on her plate. And again, man, I just want to send my heartfelt prayers to the families and everybody that's dealing with these police brutality situations across the country. Not everybody gets national coverage. There's a lot that has been swept under the rug. But I'm just doing my part to bring awareness. Peace.
When I speak, I don't speak as a Democrat or a Republican, nor an American. I speak as a victim of America's so-called democracy. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. If you go to jail, so what? If you're black, you were born in jail.
Let's start with the abuse of the power. These cowards plucking black lives like flowers. No remorse, while the screams of our mothers get louder. Each encounter gets encountered with a Facebook Live. And still that's not saving our lives. I ain't making up lies. I know you seeing social media. They beating us and treating us so devious. Shooting us then leaving us. Provoking us then choking us. But wanting respect or want answers with your knees on our neck. I can't breathe. Eating my Skittles while I scribble my notes. Contemplating on how I should vote. Got my back on the ropes. I'm from a hood where we learn from our losses. They come from a hood where they burning them crosses. We ain't the same. Panic's at an all-time high. I try hard saying I won't cry. Leave the house hoping I don't die. Looking up to the sky. Say a prayer hoping I survive. Anthony Hill, 26-year-old war veteran, was at an apartment complex in Atlanta where someone said he was crawling around naked, knocking on doors, acting deranged, so they called the cops. Now instead of showing up and giving this veteran the proper help that he needed, he was shot twice and killed, unarmed and naked. Yo, these kids supposed to be the future, but they shooting them down. Over toy guns and music, they get stretched on the ground. It's cause they skin brown. They gotta drown in their own blood. While these cops getting slapped on the wrist by a judge. No accountability for what we see. Are you kidding me? They don't de-escalate no more. They shoot and go free. Unjustified justification. We playing in funerals while they playing in vacations. They get gratification. One nation under the two different laws. The motivation needs no explanation. The system is flawed. They shooting up the mall, even killing in churches. With proof they get away with the murder. We can't break up a fight, have a broken tail light, or just run. If your phone is in your hand, they still screaming a gun. Get your wallet out your pocket, they get scared cause you black. Or kick in your door, put two on your back, and have the wrong address. 22-year-old Kane Rogers was shot and killed by a police officer responding to a suspicious person possibly breaking into vehicles. As seen on his dash cam, he swerved in front of Kane's car at the last second, so Kane avoided his car. He jumps out, starts shooting, strikes him and kills him. He said Kane tried to run him over. Dash cam shows something completely different. People putting pressure on politicians, the plot thickens. Purpose with a passion for past victims, the past hit hard. Scarred hearts in different parts of the country. Graveyards making plenty of money, while the scene getting ugly. But see, it don't make sense, cause the expense don't cover the suspense of being colored, while our days are being numbered, and our nights are getting tougher. These ages getting younger, everything makes me wonder how we living in the land of the free. but your life is the price. Cops throwing bullet shells like rice, and a routine stop could be the end of your life. Cause you don't have the right to be defending your rights. My nephew caught 76 from these pricks cause they flipped. Come to find out, it was nothing he did. Another young man, gunned down and gone. Rest in peace to Jamarion. Word. Jamarion Robinson, 26 years old. He was at his girlfriend's house watching TV when the cops kicked in the door and let off over 100 shots, hitting him 76 times. And all this was captured on Facebook Live. Investigators say somebody actually stood over his body and shot down into him. After they dragged him down the stairs and show his mom a picture of the suspect who allegedly pulled a gun on a cop, who was the wrong person.
This is why I say it's the ballot or the bullet. It's liberty or it's death. It's freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. America today finds herself in a unique situation. Historically, revolutions are bloody. Oh, yes, they are. They have never had a bloodless revolution or a non-violent revolution. That don't happen even in Hollywood. It'll be liberty or it'll be death. And if you're not ready to pay that price, don't use the word freedom in your vocabulary.
First and foremost, my heart goes out to the families of Anthony Hill, Kane Rogers, and Jamarion Robinson. If you Google those names, you'll see their stories, you'll see the released pictures and video footage that's out. There's so many other families just in Atlanta alone that are dealing with the same situations of police brutality where there's no justice as of yet for any of them. I'm not directly connected to him, but I am connected to Monteria Robinson, who is Jamarion's mom. And she's been going hard, man, putting in the work, making sure her son's case doesn't just disappear, helping these other families fight and push their cases. If you would like to help or support, reach out to her on social media. I'm sure she'll get back to you when she has time. She has a lot on her plate. And again, man, I just want to send my heartfelt prayers to the families and everybody that's dealing with these police.
Tuesday night, so y'all know what time it is. It is time for Classic Conversations with JT and Low. I am he. Low is, I said, I messed it up that time. I is he. No. I am I. He is he.
There it is.
He is Low, and JT is me. I messed it up this time. But anyway, listen, man. Glad to have y'all back for another week. Going to talk about something real close to the community. If you were actually just listening to the intro, what you heard is debut single by my man Saga Boss, one of the friends of the show. His show is Can Someone, and it's basically dedicated in regards to some victims of brutality. Brutality is almost too easy of a word.
Massacres.
Abuse of power in the city, in the Atlanta area. It's 3 cases that didn't get national news, and he goes through each case, and I mean he talks pretty candidly about it. So, like I said, I'll be sharing that on my page in the next couple of days. So make sure you check that out. It is available for you to actually purchase. Doesn't cost that much neither. I think it's like 99 cents. This week. As a matter of fact, I need for you guys to give us a telephone call, 404-500-1605. We are at the urbanatlanta.com platform. Please go there and subscribe. This week,
did you say something about subscribing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Subscribe. Boy,
Subscribe.
I'm getting, man, I'm telling you, I had a COVID test today. And ever since I did, they did the one where they put it in your back of your throat. Woo.
In the back of the throat.
Hey, that's a new one.
Hey.
But had to get it done. Yeah, back there somewhere. Yeah, I don't put stuff back there. Well,
It was a comedy show, but you just gave up about
I know,
5-10 minutes of
bro.
material.
That was a lot of material right there. That's why I'm glad they left. We had some of them in the audience, y'all, but they left. So,
Yeah,
but anyway, what we're gonna talk about tonight, it is mental health. There's a lot that we could talk about with this to unlock this subject, but we're going to talk about 3 ways that it affects our community. Tonight, we're going to be talking about mental health in law enforcement. We're going to be talking about mental health on emergency calls, and we're going to also talk about the stigma of the tags or the labels of soft or crazy in regards to mental health wellness. Yeah, that's what we're going to get into today. We've talked about this in the past on this show. My partner Angelo has, in regards to the law enforcement side, he has some really strong comments about some really strong feelings towards it. So we're bringing it back up. We got some guests in the building. Had to bring my girl back from last week because this is it's crazy she was here last week for a special engagement last week, but today she's actually here because of the subject matter of the show. Last week she just came to have a little sparring battle. And I'll go on record as saying that she won. I'll go on record as saying that she won that one. But
sorry, Gerald.
But yeah, I'm gonna go and let the young lady introduce herself. And while you're at it, go ahead and introduce the young man sitting next to you.
My name is Rima Miller. Some of you all know me as Miller Time 25. Some of you all know me as Doreen. It's all the same to me. I recently retired. Involved deeply in counseling services at the juvenile level, and which leads me straight into, our guest. We have an artist here. His name is Titanic. Upcoming. He was on my caseload as far back as 2008, 2009.
Is that right?
As a juvenile, the young man was sent to serve 10 years in prison at the age of 15.
Wow.
At 15. And,
Wow.
Some of the psychological damage that would just do to a person, let alone a child.
Absolutely.
And then it was a first offense. It's not like, it was just a terrible thing all the way around. And we used to battle. Like I had to really get into him, so to speak, because he was, something else. But he has his own personal stories and testimonies. And I want you all to tune in as well. He did a little thank you track, for me. And so I'm sure we'll get that on the line at some point in time. But I'm going to pass the mic on to Titanic.
What's going on? It's Titanic. I met her basically going through the juvenile system, running the streets, doing bad stuff that bad kids do. And just basically was getting a little worse for me in the streets because I was getting deep into the streets, and she kept trying to pull me out like, hey, do you need to focus on your music? You need to focus on your music. But the streets had a lock on me, so I never did listen to her and ended up getting a 10-year sentence. Went to prison. But before that, me and her connected a lot more, and she just was showing me, what to really be focused on in life, and that it wasn't over for me. Even though I had to go do all that time in prison, she was showing me these things, like not to give up, that it wasn't over for me, that I can still reach my dreams and my goals. So, with that being said, that's what basically held me together in prison, because I really had to, forget everything mentality. I know I got to do this time, so, I was still kind of a little bad jit. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, Miss Miller, she keeps motivating me to focus on the music. So that's, ever since then, that's what I've been focused on. And I'm not stopping, so
That's what's up.
that's basically how we met.
That's what's up.
So that brings us right to it. Mental health within our community. And I'm listening to you. It's something that I wrote about in a book in regards to what I like to call mental health diagnosis, self-diagnosis, and sometimes mental health wellness. A lot of people hear mental health, they think, I got to go see a psychologist, got to go see a psychiatrist. I got to go get this label on me. But sometimes it's actually just having conversations with somebody to help you see things in a different light. And in this case, you were basically getting help from Miss Miller, as you call her. That you were getting help from her, and which again, is actually mental health wellness, what I like to call it. You know, it's actually you know, working on your mind and working on your psyche and everything. You know, a lot of people don't understand that sometimes it's not always about going and seeking counseling. Sometimes it's just about getting, you know, speaking to somebody else and having counseling just from somebody that's close to you. In this case, you know, this young lady right here. So,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, now let me ask you this: how long did you serve?
10 years,
You did the whole 10.
the whole 10, yep, to the door.
How did-
Every single day.
Remember, he said it was 15.
Yeah, you know, in the state of
He,
Georgia, they
he
have.
still looked like he about 20.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a blessing.
Hey man, I said it the last time we had that show. When my cousin got out, I promise you, man, he looked really, really young. That's that no nothing in your food in there, man.
Yeah.
That's, ain't no, you know, it ain't eggs and
Definitely ain't
powder.
nothing in it, not even no seasoning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't mess you up and everything. So when you, after you got out, do you feel that you needed, you know, some help in regards to your mental stability, you know, adjusting to the world? I mean, you had something for yourself in regards to the music side of things, but do you think that you needed, you know, guidance or, you know, needed somebody that you could speak to in regards to, you know, the adjustment period and everything?
Oh, definitely. Getting out was basically me putting everything to the test that was on my mental. So it's like all of this stuff that I've been building up, planning, and that she's been pushing me to do over the years. Now that I'm out, boom, now I got to take some action. So.
Well, can we back that question up a little bit, if you don't mind? Can you tell us more from a youth standpoint? How was your youth leading up to, you know, the year 15 years old, getting? I mean, did you grow up in a single parent home? Where you know what I mean? Tell me a little bit about your background as a youth that led you to, you know.
Well, yeah, I grew up with both of my parents, but mainly
Okay.
my dad was off working. And,
Okay.
so I basically really didn't have a connection with him like that. And my mom, she's basically like a housewife, you know, take care of the house, watch the kids, take care of the kids and stuff. So I have more of a relationship with my mother than my father.
How many siblings?
I have 8 brothers and sisters.
8.
Yeah, but most of them are in Haiti. But I do have a couple that's over here that I grew up with.
Okay.
But yeah, mainly it was my mom.
Stay in the mic.
But over the years, I was still running the streets. You know, my mom wasn't really as strict as me, like strict on me, as my dad would be. But my dad wasn't around too much because he was always working and stuff, so he really couldn't monitor what I was doing and, you know, be strict on me against that.
Okay.
So it's basically I was just doing what I wanted to do, you know, leaving the house, don't come back home, staying out late at night, doing bad stuff, you know. Basically, that's what led to.
So
Juvenile
was
detention.
it the group you were hanging with a powerful
Yeah,
influence
basically.
over you?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I just was getting into stuff that, I was hanging around people that would get into the same stuff that was on my mental. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Because back then I didn't know any other options of, you know, how to survive in life. It was just take this from that person, do this from that. You know what I'm saying? It was just, I didn't have no options. So
Gotcha.
basically, the people that I was seeing doing stuff that was on my mental, that's who I was hanging around. And it was older people and stuff. And, you know, but it led me as a young jit to go do time in prison. And all of them, most of the older guys that I was hanging around, they did time in prison too.
Right.
And some of them are still doing time in prison now. So it wasn't no successful path at all. Like, it was no way to be successful with what I was doing before prison. So now I just focus on my music and working and, you know, reaching my dreams.
Gotcha.
So I don't have the same mental. Like, if it wasn't for her, my mental would still be totally messed up because I would have that F-it mentality, and it would have came to the streets with me from prison versus me being in prison and listening to what she's telling me and focusing on that. Like, you know.
So what did you see? I'm sorry, JT. Go ahead.
And I want to say this: when we first corresponded, I was in prison. She was like, "Don't even hit me up until you done accomplish something or something." You know what I'm saying? Because back in the day, I just wasn't doing nothing. But she was like, "Don't even hit me up." So I would have got my GED, took a couple courses and stuff, and then I hit her up like, "Hey, This is what I've done now.
Yeah.
Now we can talk, right?
So on your side, and I think that's what you was about to ask.
Yeah.
What did you see in him to make you want to invest your time into him?
Well, I could see that he was lost. You know, I could see that he didn't believe in himself. I could see all the ego, the bravado, all of the street stuff. But at a spiritual and professional level, I could clearly see that when he's alone with himself, that's when it all, creeps in. And I was very in his face about the fact, and I used to tell him all the time, you can't hide from me, I can see you. And we would battle, I mean, we went down the road, where I was the bitch, I was the hoe, I was this, I was that. And I would still kill him in the end. And I say, yeah, but you acting like it. Just keep battling, with him. But I knew when he was getting in trouble inside of the facility, I was the only one he was responding to, because he also knew. Because I told him, I said, when you love children, you don't let them do what they want to do. And that's, scripture. I said, so as long as you're in my building, you're not going to be doing what you want to do. And then I could see that at a mental health level, he was, he was already mentally unhealthy, and he didn't realize it. So I had to show him your mental health is suffering, and be open to it. This is not about ego. This is actually going to position you to be absolutely strong, and powerful. And he, started to open up, and but he'd fall back, 3 or 4 steps forward, fall back. Very talented musically. He was so talented. I'm talking like Lil Wayne, straight off the top of his head. And this was back, of course, when Young Jock was really, 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 really hot. And I called up Jock. I said, you got to come to the facility to hear this dude. I said, it's a little shrimp dude, too. He's like real small, but man, he's done. Jock came to the facility, and he said, hey, look, when do you get out? He's like, I get out next week. Okay, get with Mr. Miller. Bring him to the studio. Did he call me? No. A couple of weeks later, everybody, time I stepped in the door, it's like, you're going to be mad. You're going to be mad. His name is Giftsley, because he's from Haiti. Giftsley's back. But he's back Superior Court. And he was trying to hide from me in the facility. Like I wasn't going to be able to find him. Right? And I called him in the office, because in 2 weeks, your life changed for the worse, and it could have changed for the better if you'd have just made that one phone call. And he did write me, and I wrote him back a couple of sentences. I said, hey, write me back, when you didn't actually accomplish something, because otherwise we don't have anything to talk about. And I know he was probably blowed when he got the letter, but then when he wrote me back, it was like 4 or 5 pages of stuff that he's done, stuff that he's doing, and now we can correspond. And then when he went to the transitional center, he was sharing with me, sending me, different music, and we talked about his biggest problem was his anger and his patience. And so that's what we still, work on. Because I had to slow him down. Now, he got out 2019, the 31st. December the 31st, 2019. And he's talking. And I said, Giftsley, you've been out 4 hours. I said that impatient is what gets you into trouble. So we still need to, work on that. And he still calls me. We still, keep in touch. And when I see something, we talk about it. And he's honest and authentic with me about it. And sometimes he'll call, because he had fallen in love. And I was like, no. We going down the wrong street. With that one. And so he said, I said, you probably need to move away, because she don't have your best interest in mind. And we talked about it, and he made, some of the right decisions. So, and like I said, and here we are, now, in the state of Georgia, you know, it's SB 440, 441. That's where kids can be tried as an adult, age 13 to 17. And it comes with a mandatory minimum 10-year sentence. So we have an agreement now with, you know, juvenile justice and Department, you know, of Corrections that they hold the kids now at least until age 17. But that was before his time. So he went in at 15 and he got out when he was 25.
Wow.
You know, and so like I said, by the grace of God, you know, he's still here and still pushing forward.
So I got to ask the question, man. I mean, how was your, as you said the word mental, at 15 years old, and they tell you got a 10-year prison bid? I mean, what was your mental going in at that point?
I couldn't see ahead. I couldn't see 10 years ahead of me. So it was like, basically, I felt like life was over with.
Right.
Because I couldn't see 10 years ahead of me. So it was like, that's a long time. And first they was trying to give me 30. So it was like, whew. And the 10 I just couldn't see that far. So
Right.
That was the first time. That was the first time also.
You said that was your first offense at this.
Yeah, you know.
That was my first like felony offense.
Yeah.
Everything else I was doing was little, you know,
Little petty stuff.
petty stuff.
But that was the first time, you know, that I seen him cry, and I told him, I said, "See, you ready to heal now? You ready to heal now because now you are broken. You are at, you know, your bottom, and there's no escape. This is something you got to go and do. But my job is to help you with your overall mental stability, so that you survive prison. And surviving isn't necessarily physically coming out. I'm talking about coming out where you are still intact in terms of your internal being. And so that's what I'm most grateful and thankful for.
See, acceptance is big because when you said that you told him not to call, you said, don't call me until you've done something productive, is basically what she was saying. When you decided to do something productive,
No, it wasn't basically. I said
that's
exactly
what, yeah.
that.
So it was, once you decided to do something productive, you basically accepted help. That's what you did, because she told you, I'm not going to give you any help until you decide to do something productive. Now, I noticed she said, did we have a caller? I thought I heard the phone ring. I guess he must have hung up. So I know that she said that there was some anger things there.
Yeah, I used to have a big anger issue.
So do you think that you have you pinpointed where that came from, or is it something that's still a work in progress?
Nah, I've got my anger under control. I've got my anger under control. It really takes a lot to make me really mad now. But back then, I used to just get mad about everything. If it wasn't my way, it was the highway. But now, over the years, since I've grown mentally and, you know, understand a lot more in life, I don't get mad about stuff too much. So
What were you angry
I
about?
have more understanding about stuff.
What were you angry about?
Everything.
Just everything.
Everything.
Just waiting.
Being locked up.
Call
You
him.
know,
You got to call on that.
just everything.
Okay, so we do have a caller that's called in. Caller, go ahead and state your name.
Michael Holiday.
Yes, Mr. Holiday, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Hey, man, I think we're doing pretty good in here. And from what I remember, you are am I saying it right, a mental health specialist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am a licensed clinical social worker.
Wow. I don't think we've had one of them. We've had a lot of authors and a lot of people that's been through some things, but we ain't never had somebody with some certificates on the wall. That's
We had Dr. Southern at that time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of money and a lot of my mental health went into those certificates too, so quite all right.
See, that's what I'm saying. If somebody that is a professional, a specialist within mental health needs mental health wellness, hey man, all of us do.
Oh man, we all need it. Don't worry.
Okay, well, go ahead and give us a little something about yourself. You know, what you do, who you do it for, that type of thing.
I'm Michael Holiday, 37. I am a therapist right now with a doctor's office. I work with a doctor's office that works out of the North Georgia region. And they have now gone with a holistic approach, and they decided that, treat the body as a whole. So they have now added therapists into their offices. Next week will be my 1-year anniversary there. I did just work about 9 years with the Department of Juvenile Justice as one of the therapists/social workers with that agency. And I worked with Paulding, Dalton, and Marietta.
So were you primarily working with youth?
In the jail, I was primarily working with youth. Currently, right now, I work with adults, and the closest we'll go, only because we got to do some stuff with some like forms and paperwork and all that kind of stuff. We'll do 18, but nothing under 18 at current.
Nothing under 18. So let me ask you, in your line, in your line of work, what area would you say within the community are you seeing it most? Is it, say, I know you're saying with, a lot of youth, are you seeing something that's happened in their childhood, say something that's serious as rape or something like abuse as far as physical abuse? Is it mental abuse? Is it, what are you seeing most of the time,
Most of the time, as far as with youth, you're seeing a lot of trauma. And trauma is really the perception that is held. When we watch a lot of media, we instantly think that trauma is just physical, sexual, mental abuse. But in reality, trauma can be anything that you consider traumatic. It can be something as far as just witnessing violence. It can be maybe not having parents in a household. It could be going from foster care back home, back to foster care. It's really how your perception, but you're getting, what I see with a lot of the youth is I see a lot of trauma. And now lately, what I'm seeing is a lot of social media type related mental health.
Wow.
Yeah, the
can
reason
see
why
that.
I invited, Holiday, because we worked together, and
Sorry, the phone's breaking up a little bit.
no, I was explaining to them why I thought it was important that you be a part of this and discuss, what's new in mental health, and I definitely want you to talk about the social media aspect, because that's the new thing that's making people sick and they don't realize it, or making them sicker as it relates to their mental health. And also touch on even the children's books and how they're trying to move away from the medication to having young people understand that, hey, teaching them how to deal and cope versus dope.
Yeah, that whole social media thing, I want you to elaborate, get a little deeper into that, give a wider angle on it, so that, because there's some people out there that don't believe you. So go ahead and prove them wrong.
Okay. And just to preface this really quick, I can hear you really well. When Rima talks, it's breaking up a lot. So I guess if there's anything she needs to ask me, I guess you could do it, because I can hear you really well, but she breaks up a little bit.
Just gotta stay into the microphone.
But with the social media, there's a lot of study going into something called eye disorder, little eye, like you see with iPhone, iPod. And it's not a diagnosis yet, but what they're saying is that basically a lot, and they mean a lot, like you can go on social media, you can go on Facebook, do your Instagram, but just like anything else, it's got to be moderation. And what they're seeing, and they're trying to sway it over to get it part of like our diagnostics, is that with Facebooks, you're getting a lot of depressive symptoms. Kids are basing their self-worth now off of how many likes they get on a post, doing a lot of auto-tuning to their pictures, which means they may not be as confident in how they look themselves. And then, of course, you have dopamine in the brain, the reward system, and you see people that get tons and tons and tons of likes. So then that, it surges the dopamine. And so it's like, oh, I got to keep doing things like this. So, for example, somebody could put up a very, what you would say is attention-seeking post, something more sympathetic. And I'm not talking about the normal stuff like, my father passed, pray for me. But something simple, like where you hear a lot of people talk about, why do you have to put your whole life online? And a lot of people just like it. They just like it. They just like it. Well, then people take that as, oh, these people are really caring about me. And they're seeing these likes, and then that creates this surge of dopamine that goes to their brain, which almost acts like a drug. So you've got that side. Kids may not even have ADHD, and or they could already have it, and then they're on their smartphones, and they constantly got like 9, 10 windows open, and they're scrolling through things super fast. Well, that's going to create a brain overload, and so it's going to kind of exacerbate in.
Man, that's interesting.
That's real though.
I can
And
understand.
you can see it. And you see it all the time. When you look on Facebook, people expressing certain things about their life, and it's like they're waiting on responses, and they thrive off of the responses that they get. You know what I mean? And you better not respond or
don't get it.
Yeah, and and the funny thing is they did a study, and more than likely, most people don't even really read all the posts. They just see the person that they're like, oh, I'm friends with him. I'm sure he wrote something cool, and then they just hit like. So it's like they're seeking validation, and 50% of the time, people aren't even reading what they're putting up there.
Very true.
Right.
Very true. So we know that's happening. So how do you, I guess, diagnose, or what do you do for that particular person? If, do you suggest people respond? From your perspective, how do you, view those people, or how should we view it, or how should we respond to it?
I think, it's just like anything else. You got to be aware. You got to be aware of what's going on. And like I said, that doesn't mean you can't go on social media. I mean, I got a Facebook, I check it from time to time, got friends' birthdays on it. But when you notice that people are literally just in their phones all the time, it's a good warning sign to catch. And literally just kind of rehabituating for them moderation. It's like, showing them this stuff, telling them like, hey, there's stuff out there that says maybe you need to lay off a little bit. This could create some issues, setting time frames. Maybe, even with bedtime, smartphones produce blue light, which actually activates your awake neurons in your brain. So like having your kids just say, hey, for the 45 minutes before you go to sleep, just read a book. Like, don't just power down the phone or just put the phone on silent. But, because you don't want to just do a complete shut off, because that's unrealistic. Like if they're that hooked on it. So it's kind of like a gradual bringing back, like I always look at it like when I work with my patients that have that, I treat it almost like as if they have a cigarette addiction. If more than likely they're not going to go cold turkey. So we just put little behavioral steps in place. Like, okay, this week, only smoke 15 cigarettes. Next week, only smoke 10 cigarettes. And then that way, so you can play that kind of program with cell phone usage. And it's more like a behavioral modification program.
Gotcha.
Holiday, can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you perfect now, Rena.
Thank you. We talked about this because it was going on, at the job. We would have young girls, young boys come in with serious charges, like Superior Court charges, facing some real serious time.
Oh, wait, you're breaking up again.
That's why I stay in that mic. Yeah, right there.
Stay right there. She got a problem with the mic. just.
Yeah, this is rough in public. What I was saying is, we have kids that literally will, hey, you have 5 counts of armed robbery, 2 counts of rape, but only thing they want to do is call their baby brother or sister or their mother to go onto their social media pages and to let them know what's going on.
Oh yeah,
That's how brainwashed they
it's
are.
part of the. There's an acronym for it. It's FOMO. You know, that fear of missing out. So even when you're in jail, I mean, physically you're missing out. You ain't doing nothing. You're in jail. But if your presence is online, then you're there.
And that's all that they seem to care about. I also wanted you to touch on the new children's books that are out there as it relates to, because psychotropic medication isn't designed for children. It's really too strong. And the bottom line is, if they stop taking it, the behavior is still there. So that lets you know something is really not working. You know, it's just a quick fix. And so now they're moving into really trying to teach coping and dealing with how to deal with these problem situation. So would you touch on that, Holiday, for me, please?
Well, wait. Say that middle part again. You broke up a lot there. That I
said
heard
I wanted you to
about psychotropic meds.
Yeah, I wanted you to touch on, you know, that there are now children's books out there trying to help young people learn how to deal and cope with things that are really just normal, everyday. This is the process of growing up and not internalizing.
Oh, okay.
Everything.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to meds, I'm no psychiatrist, so I'm not going to speak too much on it. But if it occurs with everyday stressors, one of the biggest things that kids can learn to do is what's called mindfulness. And it's actually becoming the new intervention. Basically, it's just teaching you to accept that there are emotions. We are supposed to feel things. Anxiety makes us safe. Anger makes us know that we're wrong. The difference is how do we deal with the emotions? And what mindfulness does is says, hey, you're going to have these feelings. We're not supposed to be numb to feelings. And a lot of times meds, they'll stabilize you, which is great, but a lot of people get a misperception that I've got to be numb to the emotion. We're not meant to be robots. That's not the point. So for people that just have everyday stressors and, you know, they're just feeling like, I don't know about this whole medication thing. I don't want the side effects. Mindfulness. And I mean, mindfulness goes from anything to meditation, to grounding techniques, to breathing mechanisms, using your senses. Basically, it means living in the now. It's saying, I'm going to treat my feelings and my thoughts as just what they are. They're just feelings and thoughts. I'm not going to get over consumed in them. Taking a step back and then saying, how can I handle it? I mean, it's getting to the point where I was in Target last weekend and they are doing children's coloring books that teach mindfulness. And mindfulness comes from like the eastern side of the world. We're talking the Dalai Lama, Buddha. They originated this, and we're just now catching on to it and the effectiveness of it. So, I mean, mindfulness is a great substitute. I mean, obviously, if you get schizophrenia, suicidal thoughts, you know, major severities, yes, meds need to be considered because they'll stabilize you. But if it's just like everyday stressors, you know, meds could be kind of a last resort. You know, there's other techniques to try. And it just comes down to acceptance and allowing yourself to feel these things.
Very good. Thank you.
Got it.
Let me ask you this. I know you said that, you know, you work with, you know, a lot of the youth and everything, but in regards to adults, are you seeing cases with, like, say, within the educational system, or especially now with COVID going on, the medical professionals, that's what they call on the front line, and if you're not seeing it, or are you hearing of it more within your field, more needing, mental health, wellness?
Oh God, yeah. The adult population is hitting bad. Yes, the kids are getting hit bad too because they're not in school. They're not getting their socialization. But these adults, I mean, they're feeling it. Your older population, I'm seeing a major increase in anxiety. They're scared to death. The information that's out there. If you're old, you have pre-existing medical conditions, COVID could kill you. So I'm getting a lot of elderly people in my practice now. They have increased anxiety disorders. You're seeing a lot of people go into depression due to job, financial stressors. It's definitely hitting the adults hard. You had when COVID first hit, there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of I don't know really how to feel about this, but since it's been the year going along, that anxiety I'm seeing is now turning more into chronic anxiety, leaking into depression because some of these people are losing their jobs. They're not seeing their families, I had an older lady who basically is alone because her family doesn't want to put her at risk, so they don't see her. They stay put, and so she's kind of just alone in her house. And we're talking about a woman that's in her 70s, and she's just like, I get it. I get the FaceTime with my family, but that's not the same as holding them and touching them. And we're humans. We're meant for touch. We're meant for hugs. From the time we're born, we're taught to put our head on our mother's chest so that we can start the symbiosis right there. And yet with COVID, we can't even shake a hand. So human touch and affection is almost deplete. And, little things and, I'm seeing it a lot with the adults. I'm getting a lot of adults in my practice. Usually to get a full caseload of about 30, it takes a year. 6 months in, I was already at 55.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a lot. It's a lot. It's a ton. You're seeing the healthcare frontline workers. You're seeing a lot of people in law enforcement, not only just due to COVID and having to be out there, but everything going on with the political manners and the situations. You're seeing people confused, a lot of adults now. Obviously the political climate that we just got through, that created a lot of tension, a lot of splits. To adults, this stuff kind of matters, and they're kind of like, well, I don't talk to this person anymore. So we're talking about friendships being severed. 2020 hit adults hard.
Yeah. And would you say that there's a lot of adults out there that are, for lack of a better word, that are scared to seek that help because of the tags or the stigma that's on it? And I know that you are part of this community. I do know this, but would you say that also, especially within the Black community, especially with Black men, are you seeing that a lot of Black men are kind of afraid of the whole counseling thing?
Let me see how I want to word it, because I work primarily in Cartersville, so I do have a couple of African-American patients, but from what I see and what I understand, I wouldn't so much call it afraid. I would call it more skeptical.
Very resistant.
I was listening to an excellent text that was sent to me, and it was talking about why only a third of African American community is going to get vaccinated, and a lot of it is about the medical trauma that started back with being experimented on by white doctors, and you do kind of see that leaking over into the mental health field to some degree. There's kind of this vague mistrust, and and I can understand it completely, and so where I'm at, I do kind of see that. It's more like skeptical, like, do you even understand? Do you know what I'm really dealing with? Do you know what I'm really going through. And you're seeing a lot of mental health counseling now being geared towards being educated in that realm. Because we're talking about transgenerational trauma, intergenerational trauma in the African American communities. We're hearing a lot about white privilege. And so you're seeing a lot of therapists getting educated on this is why you're not getting a lot of this population. Because there is this fear, there is this skepticism, there is this anxiety. It's very real and it's very valid.
So there is a conversation about it, though. That's interesting.
Yeah. You're definitely seeing a conversation. Not as much as I would like them to be seen, but I am seeing them. So I like to think that is a step in the right direction.
Okay, well,
yes, I have a question. If you're in Cartersville, North Georgia, so the majority of your clients are white, correct?
I'm sorry, sir. Who
Correct.
Introduce yourself to him. I don't know who you are. Who are you, sir?
Okay, my name is Michael Lewis. I'm a former police officer, 30 years. With
Thank you
Atlanta
for your
Lieutenant.
service.
Okay, thank you. My question would be that now that you're seeing the meth and opioid abuse, it's probably bringing a lot of more white kids into the juvenile system in Cartersville, and now you're starting to see broken homes more in the white community. So do you think in the long term that's going to help deal with the medical profession actually preparing for the causes and some of the trauma that comes from broken homes now that it's more affecting the white community also?
Let me make sure, because you broke up a little bit, so I just want to make sure. So being in Cartersville, being where it's, predominantly a lot of the Caucasian community, yes, the opioid crisis coming from broken homes, will that cause trauma? Is that what you're asking me? Or I just want to make sure I got the question correct.
No, I think one of the backlashes that I'm looking for in a more favorable light is now that it's happening in the white community. So the mental health care profession is going to have to deal with broken homes and not the rich kid from broken home, but so kind of broken home from a kid that come from a poor neighborhood or middle class neighborhood, and they're dealing with that, and grandmothers and grandfathers raising the kids versus the more traditional setting. So do you think in the long term that's going to make it better for African American youth in the city because more mental health care professionals will be prepared to deal with that type of trauma?
Bingo.
Very good question.
It's a good question.
Yeah, thank you, Louis. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in.
Honestly, I think it really comes down to the individual traits of the practitioner. I would like to say overall, in general, I think it could better help prepare therapists, but just like any other profession, you're going to have very provincial, closed-minded people that are going to refuse to make that empathetic connection, to be like, oh, I understand. But I would like to say on the all in all, it would be a great way to gain well, not a great way because nobody wants to have broken homes and all that, but it would be an effective way to gain an understanding and to kind of see like this is what has been happening. And if the practitioner is very open to being humbled and understanding, then I could see it helping in the long term.
Okay.
So let me ask this question, because you work with both the youth and now with more of the adults, and we have like a young man on this podium right now who did 10 years in prison, starting as a 15-year-old. It's just incredible to come out at 25 back into this society. I mean, how would you approach him to kind of give him some kind of, him and others like him, how do we approach them to say, hey, it's not over, and how do you challenge their mental to come back into this world? How does you do that from a therapeutic standpoint?
First thing is letting him speak his story. no matter what anybody's gone through, especially somebody who's been in the prison system for 10 years, they've got a lot to say. And a lot of times, a lot of us are not going to understand what that person went through. And validation of your feelings, your story, your experience is step one. You know, when we haven't had to deal with a prison system, we tend to become corrective. We tend to become, well, now you know what not to do. That's the last thing anybody really needs to hear. They know deep down, they know they don't need to do that. They just need to be heard and understood. A lot of hope, a lot of support, a lot of encouragement. You know, I think sometimes we tend to harp too much on the, you know, when somebody gets out, we tend to harp too much on, and I don't want to say we don't work on consequential thinking, that's a huge thing, but we tend to kind of go into mommy and daddy mode, which is, well, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And it's going to create a lot of stress. And so it needs to be a little bit of that, obviously, but it also needs to be a lot of nurturing and encouragement and hearing the person out and hearing what they're really having trouble with. You know, we're talking about somebody who's been in for 10 years. You know, there's going to be some things that they need to relearn. Because I used to see kids and they'd get out and they'd be on probation and they would not successfully complete it within like the first month. And one of the most common things you would hear is, it's really, really stressful. It's really, really stressful. I don't know what to do. They're very misinformed. So it's kind of like, you're out. This is what you got to do. Don't screw up. Well, a lot of times they don't know how to do it because they've been locked away. They don't know how to approach certain situations. So really hearing them out, get like a client-based thing going on. Like, hey, what do you think you would need to be really successful out here? Where are you struggling? You know, get a strengths perspective. How can I make you stronger in where you need to be productive in this life? And, you know, and then that way, yeah, they get it. They know what not to do. But we don't give them enough encouragement. We don't give them enough nurture. We're just too, and I can say this because I grew up Catholic, but I call it the Catholic parenting. It's like, don't do, don't do, don't do, don't do. Mm-hmm. We don't say enough of, I think you can do this. I think you can do this. You know, our words are powerful. And when we're so used to hearing negative connotations, we're going to start creating these expectations that we don't think we can succeed at. But if we have somebody that says, you know what, you shouldn't do this, but I know you can do this, that's encouraging. And so sitting down, the first thing that needs to happen is sitting down and saying, you know, talk to me. Tell me how you're feeling, how you're thinking, you know, what's going through your head right now, what's scaring you right now, and where can I help you? You know, really getting on that person's level.
Hey, I appreciate that, Holiday. That's really been the essence of the transition, you know, here with Titanic. I told him, I said, hey, I need for you to understand and work with me because our interaction was, I'm the authority figure in reference to the situation that you're in. Well, you're no longer, you're a 25-year-old grown man, and I want to acknowledge and respect that at the same time. But then I went to the mental health side. I said, but in a lot of ways, you're still 15. Just because you go to prison and age doesn't mean, because there's not enough a lot of times in the prison level to help your brain grow and develop. So you kind of get stuck. And the greatest thing that I can do for him is listen to him. You know, and I told him there are no excuses for bad decisions because you have my phone number. And you know I listen to you. And the biggest factor for him was up until he met me, and he's grateful and thankful for his whole entire situation. And he said, yeah, I went to prison, but I'd have never met you. And I needed to meet you because I never had someone that I didn't want to let down. I ain't have nobody to believe in me. So now it's a value to me, and I know what it feels like when someone says, oh, you know, that's good, you can do it. And I told them, keep dreaming, keep dreaming, keep dreaming until you accomplish it. You can do it, but you got to put your mind to it.
That's deep.
That is.
That's deep. Mr. Holiday, listen, man, don't want to keep you all night. I really appreciate you giving us, you know, these words, because these words cost. You just helped us out for free. I said, these words cost, and you just helped us out for free, and you just helped my man. It's hard for me to call you Titanic, so I'm going to call you T. So you just helped my man T out. You just gave him some great words, some great advice there, man. So we appreciate you calling in. Is there anything, you know, you want to have someone follow you, put your information out there if they need to contact you, and maybe, you know, somebody up near Cartersville that might need a little help?
Yeah. Look, you know, Rima's got my number. I work with Rima, and she got my number. And if, you know, people are just interested in, you know, just like a chat, they want to just shoot me a text or whatever. I mean, I'm all down for that. You know, listen, here's my thing. I know you said my words cost, but here's my biggest thing. I grew up being exposed to trauma myself. And one of the greatest things I had was support. And I was very fortunate to go through my life and get educated and become a therapist with the help of my support. And first and foremost is paying it forward. And, you know, and that's why when Rima contacted me, hey, do you mind, you know, giving some knowledge? No, God, no, not at all. Because that's my duty as a human being. My duty as a human being is to, if I can have a little bit of an ounce of something that could help somebody somewhere, I'm all for that, and I'm good with it. And so, no, I've really appreciated y'all having me on. It's been a blessing. I've really enjoyed it. I could talk forever. You can ask Rima. I work with her. I mean, I could sit there in meetings and just talk all day. I'm Irish. That's what I do. But
We got one more.
Really
we got one more question
and,
for you.
And I just
got one more question for you. Go ahead.
I have one more question. This is dealing more so with Reaganomics took away federal funding from mental health care in most states, so a lot of it fell on the states, so it diminished a lot of what's available. And what you spoke to earlier, I totally agree with you as far as get the family to help, but the vast majority of these kids, white and black, that are getting sucked into the system didn't have proper parenting to begin with. So so there's what mechanisms and things are put in place so when the kids or young men are transitioning back into society, what's their form? Because that sounds good, tell their parents to do this, tell their parents to do that, but the vast majority of them, they don't have that in place already. So what do you think about the funding that's available to you, and what could go a long way in helping instead of sending it overseas at 15 million, 30, 40 million a clip? What could they do with that same funding in America?
You know, that's a great question, because I agree. When we took away a lot of that funding, I think that was a huge, huge hit. And you did see a lot of you saw a lot of people with mental health problems that went into jail because we had nowhere to treat them. But to answer your question, you know, ideally you would love to see a bunch of more counseling opening, but it doesn't just have to be therapy. You're seeing across the United States, you're seeing a lot of these police departments now, and they're bringing mental health on the scene, which I think is a fantastic idea. You know, a lot of these things can be de-escalated, and then it can prevent somebody from going in. I don't think that's such a bad idea. Having mental health actually kind of contracting, working with the police department. I can't remember the states off the top of my head, but there are 2 states that are already kind of piloting it, and they're seeing good success. They're seeing diversion. I think more mental health needs to be kind of put into the school system. And I'm talking, you know, not just, oh, we have a therapist here or a counselor here, but it needs to kind of be integrated into the curriculum. Unfortunately, all the exposure they have is this show called 13 Reasons Why, and it's just about a kid who commits suicide because she's mad at people. I mean, kids are very impressionable. I think we could do a lot of integration of mental health curriculum. It's a huge thing. It's real. We could put that in there. It could be put in the workforces. I know we have these employment agencies and stuff like that, but not just, come to us when you have the breakdown. Do check-ins. We could be very proactive. I don't see it just has to be, let's open up more therapist office. I think it can go even bigger than that. It can go, let's start making mental health care part of our everyday life. When you go work at some of these agencies and they do orientation and they talk about self-care, all they say is, practice self-care. A lot of people don't know what self-care is. They've never gotten to have self-care. To them, self-care means just sitting down for 5 minutes and eating a thing of ice cream. Self-care is more in depth than that. That should be a section of the curriculum that should be taught in, schools, really taking a lot of these mental health concepts that are so simple and integrating them into our everyday lives.
Love that answer.
It just sucks that it took justice system and COVID to really bring it out to such the paramount level that it is. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, a lot of that funding could be diverted into how can we implement this curriculum into everyday living, not just, let's open back up the hospitals or, let's open up more therapy offices. Let's put it into our daily living. I'm a big believer in the whole school system. We have a health class. Why not have a mental health class? Teaching kids how to relax, take care of themselves. I mean, it's huge.
Man,
I think that could
awesome.
be a good
That would
thing.
be so awesome.
Hey, man, let me tell you something. I'm so glad you're on the show. Listen, I co-authored a book, and it was about mental health, and I was apprehensive because I'm not a mental health professional, but I have had counseling in my life, and it helped me. So when I did the book and I wrote it, this is crazy, but I did not even purchase the book. I didn't get the book myself because I wasn't for sure that what I said was going to help. And then I reread it. The crazy thing, I reread it while we were flying to Florida.
Is that right?
First time I reread it. And I wrote the book last summer. And I reread it, and it's talking about self-care, what I call self-diagnosis. Trying to find your own space to where you can recharge, taking a step away from, it could be something as simple as, damn, I got a lot of bills. Taking a step away to recharge your mind, finding something that you can do to get away from it all. It could be smoking a cigar. It could be looking at a certain movie. It could be playing basketball. It could be reading. It could be listening to music. It could be jogging, whatever it is, just so that your mind is not thinking about the issues that's on you. And then you can come back to it with a cleaner eye or a clearer mind, and it can really help you daily going forward. I'm serious. I actually was apprehensive because I was like, man, who am I to say this when I ain't got no certificates? But hearing you say it, man, I got to sell my book. I appreciate it.
I wanted to piggyback.
And listen, and here's the thing. I can't remember who said it, but it was a psychologist way, way back in the day. And here's the beauty of all of it. And this is what I really liked about what you said. And I tell my patients this from day one. I say the best therapist in the world is yourself. I'm just here to guide you and help you realize it.
Bingo.
We all know ourselves better than anybody. And you know how to take care of ourselves. Sometimes we just get so clouded with life that we forget. And it takes that third person to bring it out. I mean, I'm really nobody special. I'm just an outsider that sees you're overwhelmed. And I'm like, hey, man, take a step back. And then they guide the rest of it. And so like you, I mean, like, yeah, you say I'm no mental health expert, but in reality, you're the expert of your own mental health. And that's what it comes down to.
I agree.
I wanted to add.
I'll be telling y'all where y'all can purchase that book shortly.
Yeah. I wanted to add to what you were saying, Louis. I just think that people need to be hired that have been through the struggle. You know, we get so bogged down in the society structure of, well, you got to have a license, you got to have a certification, you got to have these degrees.
Right.
But the
You may
reality,
have to repeat the question for you, Rima, because you're still breaking up really bad on me.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but then it only goes on for like 6 seconds.
When you, as soon as you turn your head to the side.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stay right here,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
way you'll be
yeah,
able
you
to
gotta
hear me.
understand, Rima's real. She's real cool. She's suave with it. So when she get to going, she kind of. You can't see us right now, but usually what she does is she turns away and she starts.
Oh, no,
talking.
but I know Rima, so I can only imagine.
You see, thank God for my own mental health. I just think a lot of the funding needs to go into jobs that, and we're hiring people that have actually been through the struggle. People forget in the 1960s, Jim Brown helped, to eradicate the gang situation that was going on in L.A. because he took the actual gang members, to help in the process, because who knows better than them what is needed. And so, JT, when you say, who am I say, well, why not you? Because everybody's story is going to help probably tens of millions of people. He's not the first 15-year-old. He needs to be on somebody's payroll to capture them when they come out, because who better understands than the guy that was 15, And that's, again, been the essence of our interaction. I have him tell me, and less about me telling him. I've not ever been to prison. But Mr. Holliday and myself, we would go outside. I would enjoy a cigar. He would do his thing, because that was our therapy, literally, to finish the day. Because when you are working inside of a secure facility, you are just as locked up as the people that you're
facts.
servicing. And we know, and Holiday, you can attest to this, if a door don't click, we stop and turn around, because we know how everything,
I mean, that's so true.
everything's supposed to sound, and it's not good for your mental health, though.
Right.
It's not good for your mental
Yeah,
health.
yeah.
We got kids, they would know just from hearing my heels, oh, well, that's Miss Miller. That's how institutionalized you become working inside of the institution. And I just think if the funding starts to go into those, that have been through, because nobody wants to listen to somebody that don't know. If you don't know, it's hard to break through. And that's what we're talking about, that cultural divide when it comes to therapy. I'm not going to sit down and talk to you, and I know that you were born with a silver spoon. You don't understand, when your stomach growls, you just take care of it. When mine growl, I just pass out because nothing's coming. So we need those people, to help in the process and not just leave them out there forgotten. So we're going to get the book out to you, because JT has put it in there. He's put it in there, and we want everybody to, respond to it. And thank you, Holiday. I knew that I could call on you.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
You got it.
Good
Hey,
information.
anytime.
Mr. Holiday, I have a lot of friends already. I was gonna request your friendship earlier today, but I gotta delete some people. So as soon as I find out, as soon as the birthday thing come on Facebook tomorrow, and I look at these people and realize that I don't really know them, I'm gonna delete them, and I'm gonna be sending you a friend request, because
Send it my way, man.
yeah. Not only will I need you for the show, but I might need you for me. So appreciate you.
It's like that.
Hey, you
It's
got
like
it. It was
that.
a pleasure, guys.
You
Thank y'all
can't,
so
you can't
much.
call Reem?
Take care, man. Thank you.
Jesus.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. Stay
All
blessed.
right.
Bye-bye.
Hilarious. Hilarious. Hilarious.
Oh my God. Hey, listen.
Did you hear what just happened, Louis? Did you hear what happened?
And the segue.
Remo over here pimping. So listen, well, first off, hey, bro, what up, man? My guy,
he came
bro.
in here like the
You don't
Black
understand, man. We done talked about you on a lot of shows.
A lot of
now.
shows. Your word. You start a whole new phrase and everything.
Yeah, man. We know you as hey, man, what's the infected? Can we get him back? Listen, man,
infected guy.
go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Let them know who you are, your expertise, and, how you can actually put something towards this.
Name's Michael Lewis, 30-year veteran of Atlanta Police Department, retired in July. My commands were SWAT, fugitive, worked organized crime investigator, narcotics, supervisor gang unit, Red Dog troop, and also supervisor. List goes on. But the mental health side of it, I've actually jumped at the chance to come here because that's something that Atlanta's probably on the cutting edge of that. It started as far back as Chief Beverly Harvard, and Chief Turner really turned it up. Grady actually has a special unit that responds to any time there's something involving, we call them a 24, but that's anybody listed as a demented person has mental health issues. You can actually call out a special unit that comes out. That unit has what we call a knockout drug. What we typically do, there's no force used. We sit there and just entertain the person until the Grady professionals get there. Everybody that works those wagons, they actually come from the mental health care side of Grady. And they typically, I don't know, if I went on 20 scenes every single time, but probably 4, they actually knew the person we were dealing with. They have a computer that's linked to the system, so they're actually able to look up and identify those people. So it's actually a lot more. In Atlanta anyway, there's mechanisms in place to keep it from being a situation where it's a pile-on, where you have 9 people jumping on somebody's back to bring them under control. The shot takes seconds to take effect, and they don't go limping and they load them on. But most of the time, the people actually get on the wagon themselves and are strapped in, and there's no need for any force at all. And that just is a de-escalation, and that's something that's not modern with Atlanta. We've had classes dealing with that in the academy all the way back into the early 2000s.
So let me ask you a question in reference to that. So what if there's a call, and I'm reflecting back, I guess it's been a few years now, where the gentleman was butt naked in the streets and ended up getting shot and killed in Atlanta.
That's in DeKalb County.
Oh, it was in the cab?
That's
Okay, well, my apologies then.
yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I thought it was in Atlanta.
I didn't know which county it was in. I was actually hitting my
Okay.
guy up. He
All
actually
right.
wrote
DeKalb County.
Yeah, he wrote a song about it, and I was asking him
What county was it in?
county he was in. So you already answered it. Do we have a caller? We got 2 callers. Ooh, boy, Classic Conversations is hot tonight. Give me that first caller. Caller, go ahead and state your name.
Hi, this is Shanta Hayes.
Hello, Shanta. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Go
Hi,
ahead, then,
everyone.
Rima.
Hi, guys.
How you doing, Shanta or Santa?
Yes, Shanta.
Okay. How are you doing this evening?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay. You got a
I've been
question?
enjoying the show.
Good
I
deal.
know the only reason you've been enjoying the show is because Lo is sitting up here with that Go Blue on his chest. This is a proud graduate of Michigan on the line.
Go Blue.
Yes, I am. Go Blue.
Oh, here we go.
All right. Well, listen, do you have a question or comment? Go ahead with it.
Got another call.
So I do have a comment. I've been listening to the show, and I am also a mental health professional.
Yes.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I'm at LMSW, and recently I wrote a book called The Mindful Beginning Self-Care Journal, First Steps to a More Present Life. And Mr. Holliday pointed out, the importance of self-care and mindfulness. And I wholeheartedly agree, and I believe that if we approach communities and our children, especially because my focus is children and families, from teaching them how to care for themselves in the most basic way, i.e. self-care, routine maintenance, making sure they sleep well, eat well, exercise, and hydrate. Their minds are clearer to say, to communicate when they're experiencing something. But we also have to give those children agency. I believe in giving children agency. So as Rima said, she is there for him to call because she will always listen. We have to stop with this children are to be seen and not heard narrative and let them use those voices, because that is how we stop trauma in its tracks. Because if I'm not afraid to tell someone what happened to me, I can get help for it a lot sooner.
And make sure you let us know where we can go and get that book as well, okay?
Hey, we ain't be. I'm the only one selling books up here tonight. No, I'm playing. No.
Dwayne got on the screen already. For the people
give me the name of the book again. I'm writing it down.
Oh my God.
The book is it is on the screen. The Mindful Beginning Self-Care Journal. First steps to a more present life. Because we do recognize that we're going to have those feelings. And we can't always just push them away. This is not some movie. We're not going to push them down, never to be brought up again. Because while you may not utter the words, those feelings bowl up in our actions, in our behaviors. And then people are like, what is going on? That's that thing that you pressed down and didn't want to bring back up. But now we got to talk about it because you're doing stuff.
Okay, I like it.
So do you work out of a facility? You independent practice? What's your specialty?
So I work with core agencies. So we do work in the community with children and families, and I'm primarily housed in schools. Due to COVID, of course, I'm not in school, but I still see youth that were referred from school, and I still do virtual groups with kids in schools because they, as Mr. Holliday pointed out, we are seeing a rise in anxiety and in depression, and even in children. And a lot of people didn't recognize that prior to COVID, we were seeing a spike in suicide rates of young Black boys. And when I say boys, I'm talking under 13. So we have to be very mindful, being aware of our children. What are they doing? Who are they talking to? What are they doing? How are they feeling? Are you checking in with them? You know? Yes, I love that you
can I add something to that? I think that plays a big major role in I think that plays a major role in the life of youth, because their parents are always working and stuff, so they're never really there to guide them and listen to them and show them things. They're never really there because they're so focused on paying their bills, and especially with COVID and stuff going on now, parents are so focused on what to do next that they're not really paying their kids any mind. So I think that does play a big major role in changing the path that this is going with, mental health as far as children, because they don't have
some
no
of
one
it
to
is
listen to them.
Neglect. Some of it, though, is I have to work. I don't have any other option but to work. I recognize that it is a privilege to be able to stay home with your kids and, virtually school them. I also recognize that there are some parents that are working 2 and 3 jobs, and their community supports might be shoddy because they don't have relationships with family because of their own past trauma.
Yeah,
We have to take those things into consideration, and we have to help families find resources so that they can thrive, not just survive.
Yeah, and I think that's huge, because a lot of parents, like you said, a lot of them are doing it for survival because they feel that they have to do this to take care of their children. And I think they lose track of, communicating and talking to the kids and, like you said, checking on the kids. And again, it's hard to blame anybody, but at the same time, somebody has to step in and kind of, there has to be somebody outside of their home that can say, hey, asking the parents, how are your kids doing? And if, you know, and a parent sometimes has to, hopefully they can stop long enough. Because most of the time, most of us, when somebody asks us how our kid is doing, we'll take a quick thought and say, oh, yeah, doing good. But you don't never really think about how is your kid really doing. You know, if you really think about it, you're like, damn, I really don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, we get stuck. You get stuck in the hustle and bustle of survival. You get stuck in the hustle and bustle of paying the bills and getting things done. And because you're feeding the child is not cold, you know, you feel the child should be okay.
Exactly.
You know, and
Right.
let's face it, you know, a lot of us can see it. A lot of our kids are growing up faster, but the problem is they're growing up faster because they're seeing things not because of their parents. They're seeing things from other avenues. They're seeing things on television. They're seeing things online. They're seeing things out in the streets. And the parents feel that, oh, you know, they're mature when actually they're not. It's just the things that they've seen. So that's a great point that you bring up there. Yeah, that's a great point. Make me want to go home and
We have to be mindful of,
and
those
the fact how
environmental influences.
How Titanic acknowledged that from a youth standpoint. You know what I mean? That's big.
Yeah. Because that was my major problem as a youth. I mean, my parents was always working and stuff, so I really couldn't sit down. I didn't have nobody to sit down and ask me, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? What's going on in school? You know, and just sit there and talk with me and guide me through the stages that I'm going through in life. I didn't have nobody to do that until I met Rima, after it was too late. You know what I'm saying? So if we can bring people in or have our parents do that before it's too late, be there for your kids. Like, you know, yeah, we got to work and we got to pay bills. Yeah, we do. But you got to pay attention to your kids, too, because you never know what they even going through. Yeah, your kid's in school, but you don't know if your kid getting bullied or if he bullying someone else or what's going on at school with your kid.
Gang initiation.
You know, you don't know what's going on unless you talk to them.
Very true.
And, you know, nowadays all kids have iPhones and stuff, so they on social media. You don't know what's influencing them on social media.
See, again, that comes back to that whole village mentality, because if the parents can't see it, because they're busy, you know, somebody in the village should be able to say, yo, you know, I saw your son, your daughter with such and such, and, you know, from what I hear, such and such is not, you know, things like that. So that again, that's where that village mentality comes in.
Yeah, but the
a
village
bit.
doesn't exist anymore. That's something that the
And yeah, we
go back and bring it back.
Yeah, we've talked about that also, about the village not existing. I've been saying it. We got to somehow try and bring the village back, and it's hard to do that, especially in this time, because nobody actually. You think about it. Nobody really stays in one place long enough to create a village anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
So
people.
I'm going to push back on that just a little bit.
Go ahead, push, girl.
Because I believe the village does exist. It just doesn't exist the way we are accustomed to it being. We have to use the resources that are available to us. And that might not be, you know, Big Mama or your auntie. That might be your friend who, you know, her kids go to the same school, and she can pick them up when you work swing shift and keep them until you get off.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Or
And
it might be.
That's the village that I'm talking about. That one, not family. I'm talking about people that stay down the
Outside,
street.
yeah, not family,
You know,
outside.
I'm with you on that. People that stay down the street, people that stay in the same building, people that stay in the same apartment complex. I think a lot of the issue is so many people are so defensive about their children that they won't let somebody say something to them about their children. They get very
I
defensive.
absolutely agree with
They
that.
get defensive off the rip instead of, you know what, let me check this out. Now, if you find out that it's wrong, then you can get defensive. But I think people have to open up a little bit and, you know, listen to what somebody else is saying sometimes, because, again, you know, we don't recognize how we get caught up in just trying to make it. You know, that thing about making it, it can be detrimental to you at the same time as, you know, as well as it can be, you know, successful for you. So.
We can develop some very bad habits in just trying to make it. I do another talk called Who Do You Think You're Talking To? Having age and developmentally appropriate conversations with our children. And you mentioned communication earlier. That's the basis of that whole conversation. It's making sure that you're talking to the child that you have. If they're 5, use age appropriate language. If they're 16, still use age appropriate language. But you don't have to keep everything from them. Like, people need to be having very real conversations about a whole lot of topics, not just drugs and gangs, but sex and friendship and what love looks like, because that's how we go into these maladaptive relationships as our kids get older, which means they're falling into the wrong crowd because they think this is what love looks like. This is what loyalty is.
We got to have you back.
That's deep.
Yeah, we got to have you back. Listen, our show is hot tonight, so we can't let you talk a long time. we actually
talk.
But actually, how many more calls we got? We got
just try to
one?
hold on. Yeah, just
Okay,
the call.
hold on for a second. Stay right there because we want everybody to know. I think I want everybody to know where your book is at after they find out where mine is at. Hold on one second. I got another call on the line. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Carrie T. Milton Shaver.
Hey,
And I
Carrie.
want to first of all give a shout out to Marima just for being a part of this panel. And I'm watching you all and I'm talking to you at the same time. This is a really good topic that you all are covering today. I have some questions. I'm going to ask my question first and then I have comments.
Okay.
My first question is to Titanic. With you matriculating through the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice System, and you know that you knew that you had this mental issues, and Ms. Miller was there to see you through that. When you left and you went into the prison system.
Can you speak a
How
little
were you
louder?
able
I can't
to-
really hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We just turned you up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So what I was saying was that you matriculated through the Department of Juvenile Justice System, and you had these mental issues that Ms. Miller was able to pinpoint. How were you able to navigate through that adult prison system with those issues that you had? And how are you able to cope now that you've been out for 2 years? Do you think you still have those same issues that you're dealing with? Or do you think that you've had some time to reflect?
Yeah, I've had a lot of time to reflect and have more understanding about, you know, my situations and circumstances that I was going through and my mentality, you know, back then. So I understand a lot more. And what just helped me cope through it was just, you know, I had to be strong for myself because nobody else could be strong for me. I'm in prison. I'm by myself. Can't get too close to anybody, you know. So it's like I got to do this on my own, and I know what I need to do because it's people telling me, you know, Ms. Miller, she's telling me, this is what you can do, this is what you should do, this is where you need to go, this is where you can go. And so mental-wise, that's what I kept my focus on and just, you know, making myself stronger as far as coping with my situations and, you know, the emotions and stuff that I was going through. I don't know if that answers your question.
Actually, it did. And it actually leads into the comment that I want to make. Just to give you a little bit about me, my studies, my undergraduate studies was in radio, television, and film. And my master's is in community counseling. So I'm a qualified mental health professional. I don't tell people that I am, but I am. And a qualified mental health professional means I didn't take the test to become a licensed professional counselor. But I worked with entertainers in their late 90s, and I wanted to marry both of my degrees together because what I found was that people who were considered as mental or had some mental illnesses, they gravitated to fantasy, meaning they were talented. They were rappers that can sing, they can write, they can dance, because they were able to escape from some of the issues that they were dealing with every single day. You mentioned something that was so on point about parents not being available. You know, parents have to be present and not just be in the house with their children, because you can be an absent parent just being in the house. You have to be engaged. You have to be involved because a child doesn't understand mommy has to go to work when the child needs a hug or a child needs some attention. When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts with the physiological needs, moving to the safety needs, then the love needs, then the esteem needs, and then you literally self-actualize. But if you're missing different steps, if you don't reach those particular needs or have those needs met, then you try to find them either in the streets, you find them from people who are no good for you, or you may not be any good for them.
Yeah.
It's really important that we understand the power of relationship. And I'm talking about literally relating with your children, relating with your mates, relating with your friends, your coworker, etc. Because it builds a healthy person. And so I'm looking at you right now, and you're so in tune with everything that's being said at this table. And I commend you for even coming out and just being brave enough to say, look, I went into this system, I got out, and I had to go back in for 10 years, and now I'm out. You're the type of voice that the kids that I work with would love to hear.
Yeah,
what I do with the state, I write and develop curriculum for youth that are detained. And I incorporate what I've learned as a qualified mental health professional, because those kids that I work with are talented and they have fantasies. They can draw, they can sing, they can do all of those things. When they get out, that's what they're attracted to. They're attracted to the rap game. They're attracted to, women. They're attracted to money. They're attracted to all of these things that they think they need in order to self-actualize. And so I just want to let the three of you all that's to the left, starting with the officer, you made some very good points tonight, and you asked Mr. Holliday those questions. Your questions are so strategic and so pointed that I love. I think your name is Mr. Lewis, if I'm not mistaken. Just from starting with you all the way across, this platform is so needed. It's so needed. And sir, for you to say that, I think you don't have on the Michigan Church, the other fella. You said something about your book when you had to go back and reread it. And you said you're going to put it out. It's moments like this that need to be captured so people can understand that you don't have to be a celebrity to have issues. You could be the average Joe Blow with all of these bills that you said you may have to go take a job. People need to know how to recover from a crisis, because a crisis can be you scratching off a lottery and you win $3 million. That's a crisis right there, because your life changed suddenly. But the support that the young lady was talking about, the support that Michael Holliday was talking about, it is so needed. And Mr. Titanic is living proof of that, because he was supported by Rena Miller, because he was supported, continuously supported by her and the resources that she provided. He's sitting at this table with you all in a sound mind, being able to share his experiences. So thank you, Klassic Konversations, for this platform tonight. I appreciate it.
Carrie, I'm not going to let you go that easy. Carrie does the most incredible program to help our seniors with mental health. She does a senior fashion show.
Oh, wow.
And what really moved me was through her program, some of these seniors were once using walkers to get around, and they were able to stroll down the runway and model.
That's awesome.
And I talked to them after these shows, and they all kept talking about how I was depressed, because when the kids get grown, sometimes we forget about our parents, and how this helps them to feel like they have a purpose again, that they're happier, they don't feel like they're just dying. And thank you, Carrie, for doing that. And I want you to tell us a little more about that, and the name of that, and what's upcoming, with that. I know COVID has us shut down, but I know that you're still doing something. Did you hear me?
Carrie, you still there?
I I'm here. I can hardly hear her though.
She wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on your program with the seniors that you were doing and the effect that it had on them. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
in regards to the fashion show and what you got coming up in regards to that.
Yes, please elaborate on that. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can.
Yeah, I hope so, because I'm all on the mic, literally on the mic.
Yes. So young people who have mental health issues become old people who have mental health issues if they do not seek support or help. And so because I disguise my support through the arts, I have not just a fashion show, but I have what you call fashion theater. I literally write a script for fashion shows. I put the runway on a stage play. And I have decided to work with seniors age 55 and older. So I give them a script. They have to learn their lines, but there are no words. Imagine that. If I can kind of describe it to you, it's almost like a Tyler Perry play, but it's fashion. So the clothes, the fashion, the style is what tells the story. You know, clothes never go out of style. People always love fashion. They always want to be it. And so I take these seniors who have lost loved ones. I take these seniors who may be hard of hearing, who have Alzheimer's, who have some type of issue that's going on with them, and I teach them how to strut. And I'm not talking about with no walker and to barely move. I'm talking about strutting like Beverly Johnson, like Iman, like those type people, like a Carrie Hamilton Shavers. I teach them how to build their self-confidence. I teach them how it's important that they know that I care for them, that they are still wanted and needed, so that their mental health doesn't decline as they get older. And so I do this in front of an audience. It can be, when I do it in Albany, it's about 700 that comes out. I travel to 8 cities, Atlanta, Albany, Augusta, Birmingham, Columbus, Macon, Jacksonville, Florida, and Savannah. And it's called Seniors on the Runway. So these same seniors that I teach how to model, I also bring them into the agency when we were able to bring in visitors to work with the young people like Titanic to help them understand that they have a life to live, they have something to live for, and have something to look forward to. So the program is a production, a live DJ. We have entertainment. Everything is the seniors 55 and older, the production assistants, the people who work the lights, the people who pull the curtains, my set designer, everything. And it's top notch. And I'm the only one that's doing this in the country.
Yes. Carrie,
that's phenomenal.
That is awesome.
That's phenomenal.
I'm gonna throw a little plug out there real quick, because I'm always looking for more work. Listen, I am a host. I host different fashion shows. I actually model also, but I've actually hosted shows where we've actually had special needs kids and adults, model, walk. We have had some that we actually had to push down in wheelchairs. I would love to get with you in regards to this. I like doing shows that has a cause. I don't like just doing it just because. So I will be getting your number from Rima, and I'm reaching out to you. You can tell me no if you want to, but I think that I could add to your production.
I would love that. I would love that. You can actually go to singersonthernunway.com. You can Google me. It'll pop up.
Google
Singersonthernunway.com.
Singersonthernunway.com. You can Google Carrie T. Hamilton. It's all good.
You don't even imagine what you're doing for those seniors, man.
Exactly.
I mean, that just gave me chills just thinking about the smiles. That's amazing. I applaud you for that.
Seriously, that's dope right there.
Thank you.
Sarah, we appreciate you, calling in and, tell your brother-in-law, you know what to tell. You know what to tell him.
We're not pitching woo on the podcast.
Oh, all right. You pitching woo?
No.
You pitching woo?
Carrie,
Lord.
tell your brother-in-law I said hello.
Oh, Lord. She's pitching woo.
My God.
Oh, that my daddy watched.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you so much. I think we have another caller.
Yeah, we got another caller, Carrie.
Thank you,
I
Carrie.
appreciate you.
Thank
I will
you
be.
all.
I will be in touch with you for real.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to continue to watch.
Thank you. Thank you. We got you on the screen so people can follow you. So we got another caller.
right.
Caller, say your name. Or do we still?
We lost the other one. Okay.
Question
Okay.
for Titanic. real
Go ahead.
quick, okay? Titanic, like I said, everybody said it, and I want to say it. I commend you for being out here because it's hard to put yourself out in public view, but there's nothing wrong. So you should be in public view.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I wanted to kind of steer the conversation back to why I came here. The number of black youth that are incarcerated at accelerated rates. And you were in the pods with them. You were in the jail with them. Most of them come from broken homes. So a lot of the flower power stuff that's been talking about, you know, the parents to fall back on and all this, it doesn't exist for a lot of those kids. And not knocking the city, the state or anything else, but DFACS, I'm out there when it takes DFACS 4 or 5 hours or not even a shift just to get them to pick up a kid that's been molested. So what I'm talking about are the kids that when we hit a house and there's 5 and 6 kids in there, all of them are runaways, or some of them aren't listed as a runaway, but they haven't been home in I don't know how long, or when you try to bring them back to the school and you hear from the school they haven't been in the school for 3-4 months, but why aren't they in jail or in juvenile? And see, there's a hole in the system, and everybody's talking about the perfect world where these kids have a family that's like the mom and the dad. I grew up with my mom and dad, so I'm one of the silver spoons, I guess. But what I saw in law enforcement in 30 years, and that's working Red Dog and everything else, is kids that never got the opportunities. Because before they got the opportunity, the dad wasn't there, so you can't tell a mom that she's going to be more involved in her kid's life when she has to cook, feed them, have to put clothes on them, and just get them everything. So what ends up happening, that kid has to fall into the streets. And I don't know if you, did you know Little B when you're in there?
Yeah, I know Lil B.
Okay, you know Little B.
Yeah.
Okay, I was actually, when I was in Red Dog was when that Little B stuff happened.
Oh, yeah.
And when he flashed the lights and he shot him. And people don't know the traumatic part of that. Little B, a week before then, I don't know if he told you this, a week before then, he and his buddy had robbed the teacher putting up the flag at the elementary school.
Oh, no, he didn't tell me that.
Yeah, and so there was no warrant out for him.
Wow.
Okay, his mom was a crackhead. He was raising his sister and brother and staying in a vacant apartment off of Griffin and North where it occurred at the Bluff. So when everybody's, you know, saying, oh, he shot the man and this and that, no, it's a little bit more to that, because if he told you a story, that same drug dealers that that beefed him up to shoot the gentleman were the only ones that were feeding his brother and sister, little brother and sister. And that's where he had been for months and hadn't been nobody looking for him. So until that part of the system is fixed, all this touchy-feely stuff isn't going to work. Because until those kids, the kids that really need it, the kids that are ending up in, and I don't know what you did, but that end up in your position or placed there, because there's a lot of kids out there that they're following and just basically doing nothing. And I know if I didn't have to sit home and do my homework, I probably wouldn't have did it. So now you have kids that are out there. So into that part,
And, you
of
know,
the
basically, that's basically how I was. Like, I didn't have my daddy or my mom telling me, hey, sit down and do your homework. You know, I didn't have that. It was like, homework, you know. So, yeah, you're right. You just basically have to have, like, if I would have met Miss Miller in school, my life would have been different. Because if I would have had that person to do what she's done for me and be there for me early on while I was in school and, you know, learning things, it would have been different. So if we can catch that before they even get to the point of making stupid decisions, then things would be a lot better. But we just got to have on a lot of people like her to take on those roles.
Hey, man, let me tell you something. Your testimony is valuable. Real talk. Because, I mean, we had a show where we had some brothers that's been incarcerated. These were older gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
You being incarcerated at 15, there's such a demographic that you can reach differently than what the other guys that we had up here can reach.
Yeah.
You know, because, let's face it, you know, somebody 12, 13 years old, they looking at what they call the OGs being like, I got time. I ain't gonna get caught like the OG. I'm too young. They ain't gonna send me in. Some guys actually out there, some young cats out there think that because they're so young that they won't get 10.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Your story is for real. And, who was it? No, it wasn't Carrie. Is she still on the line? Got another caller too? The Mindful Beginnings of Self-Care. Miss Hayes, she still there?
You got a new caller.
I'm here.
Okay.
Who's the new caller?
Yeah, I want to say this. I want you to stay there because I want you two to connect, because I heard some things that she said about needing somebody like you. I want you two to connect because I think that's going to be something that can benefit. I know it can benefit a lot of people out there, a lot of young guys out there. I think it'll benefit you also because I can tell that you actually want to share your story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's
dope.
something me and Miss Miller. I ain't gonna call her Miss Miller. That's what we used to call her back in the day. I'm gonna call her Rima. I'm grown now. I can call you.
Let me explain something to you, Titanic. Let me tell you this.
Go on, tell us when we get to the next caller.
Let me just say this. I don't want you to, blow up like Titanic all in one night. Okay.
Hey, listen,
You're gonna call me Miss Rima.
You ain't gotta call me Miss Miller, but Miss Rima. So
Yeah.
Miss gonna be somewhere there. Okay, I get you. All right, so we got a new caller. State your name.
Yes, sir. Chuck Sutton, good friend of Rima's, and I appreciate you guys putting this on tonight. I am very impressed and just dealing with my own issues and not finding out till I was an adult in my 30s, actually going through marriage counseling, how my childhood affected me to the point where I was diagnosed with PTSD and super high anxiety, and not knowing that, and the stigma that Black men have, where we're taught where everything is fine, shake it off, just not even knowing how important mental health was. So I was almost in my mid 30s, and how that affected my life and how it still has an effect on me, and working through that. This platform is really important, and I hope your outreach, especially for Black males, just keeps growing, because it's important for us to take care of ourselves mentally as well as physically. So thank you for that. And I want to tell the young man, Titanic, man, I am proud of you. Continue to listen to Miss Rima. She is, she's okay. She's okay. She talks a lot of stuff and all that good stuff, but she's okay, man. And I'm proud of you. And
Definitely.
if you need anything, Rima has my number. You can call me. And I also want to shout out that sweatshirt, because I too represent the University of Michigan. So
Oh my
go
God!
Blue.
Thank you,
Oh my
thank you.
God!
Hey, Rima, you already know. You already know that was gonna get in. That was gonna get in there. But no, seriously, gentlemen, I this is really important, and my fellow U of M alums, Shanta was saying a lot of good stuff about the village, and I talk about that all the time, about how growing up, when my parents had to work and we would go to my grandmother's house, if I did something down the block, it was parents getting on me back then. Then my grandma would get on me, and then when my parents got home, they would get on me. And so I agree with that. So some way, somehow, we got to get these villages back and take care of our youth and get us back to, just to being together. And again, thank y'all. I appreciate it. I'm going to continue to listen.
Thank you, brother.
Definitely, thank you.
Hold on real quick. Let me ask you a question. You said that
Yes, sir.
that you said you was in your 30s.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, did you actually get therapy?
I did.
You did.
I did. I figured out in marriage counseling. And so the first time I heard anything actually was early on when my wife and I were dating. And I remember one night she looked at me and she was like, I think you're depressed. And I was looking at her like, what are you talking about? Me? Nah. I'm laughing, I'm joking, I'm a clown. And that was 10 years before I actually talked to somebody. And through marriage counseling, our counselor wanted me to come see her, without my wife. Learned from there that I needed to go. Like I had some deeper issues that I needed to deal with. My father, was a functioning alcoholic and used to get physical with my mom. I had to fight him at a young age. Stuff like that. Then other stuff, growing up in the hood that you see, friends getting killed. And, I used to have I was the only one in the neighborhood with a basketball rim. So all my friends who sold dope used to run from the police and come out like they were hooping in the backyard and hide dope behind my garage and stuff like that. Just that environment, man, growing up like that. And, I was one of the lucky ones. My sister and I were one of the lucky ones that had parents that were uber involved with us and stressed education. I mean, to the point where it was just, you get good grades, go to college. I didn't even know how competitive applying to schools were. It was just get good grades, do your homework. So I had it completely different on one hand than Titanic did, but some of the same stuff that he probably saw, I saw. I just had parents in my life that, kept me from doing a lot of wrong where I could have.
Right. And would you say that therapy opened you up and really helped you going forward?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. I'm a completely different person. I have people that know me pre-marriage down here in Atlanta that went to Michigan and, from Detroit that know me, and they just say, this is a whole, yeah, I'm a completely different person. My anger, is pretty much under control at this point. And, just how I react and handle things is completely different. And now that I have kids, I see how important mental health is. And so all the stuff you guys have been talking about has really been hitting home tonight. Working from home and then with COVID and having the kids at home, with the expectation of having to take care of that business and then make sure you spend time with your kids at certain points, it was a hard balance, for me, because I get so self-absorbed with, I got to do this to take care of these bills. I don't have time to play with you. But at the same time, you guys were hitting home about how important that is. So, tonight's conversation was really needed, man. It was right on time. I appreciate it.
And one more thing, are you
Yes, sir.
Are you continuing counseling? Do you still go or?
No, I haven't in a while. I just, I keep up with the workbooks and try to, read everything and practice what I was taught. I mean, so the one thing that I did learn is there's no real magical fix. You just have to keep putting in work. And so a lot of the workbooks and activities in the books that I read, when I get in certain moods, I tend to pick those up and reinforce some of the things that I was taught. And, one of the other things that I have that a lot of people don't have is an outlet like you guys were talking about earlier. I DJ. So DJing for me is that outlet where I don't think about anything going on in my life.
Yeah.
I'm able to just hit the tables and have fun, and it's that release. I don't think about absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that you DJ at the patio. Is that correct?
Yeah, yep, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Well, when are you up there again? I'm gonna come through and holler at
you. Next Saturday. Not this one coming up. Next Saturday.
Oh yeah, this Saturday I won't be here anyway. I'll be in Puerto Rico where it's gonna be like 89 degrees, but I ain't gonna.
Yeah, man.
I ain't gonna bring
that.
Well, I commend you, brother, for seeking counseling. Though that's huge. Into if more men and black men would acknowledge that and seek that as needed, man, that's big. So I commend you for it. MJ had a question.
I have a question for you. It's about you stopped going to counseling. Did cost of counseling factor into it at all?
No, it was more the move to Atlanta.
Okay.
Basically, that was it. I mean, we were doing this back in Michigan, and then when we got here, I felt like we had a lot of tools, to be successful. 7 years in. Now we're working on 8, and just taking it one day at a time for me. Because so for me, a lot of it is, I still have nights where I can't sleep because I like relive some of these memories of, like, I can smell the the liquor coming out my dad's pores, punching my mom in the face and telling myself that wasn't going to happen again. Sometimes I relive the night that I actually had to fight my father when I was in the 6th grade. And yeah, man, it's deep, man. But thankfully my wife has supported me through a lot of that. And my friends have, and
Okay.
I did yeah, man. Sometimes I think I need to, and this is kind of reinforcing that because I'm hearing that I probably still need to talk to somebody. So
All right, well,
I appreciate that too.
Let me give this
Thanks
to
for
you.
sharing, brother. Definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna give this to you. I didn't seek counseling until I was in my 40s.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's what we call preventive maintenance. You should. I'm not saying that you have to go as often, but you still should try and get you a session in every now and then. I'm just being honest with you. COVID kind of messed up my schedule. I was going like once every 6 to 9 months, I would make me a visit. Nobody knew. I just went, done my visit, and handled my business and kept it moving. But again, I commend you on it, man, because it took a minute for me to actually talk about it out loud to people. And, because, most of my friends had no idea that I had issues. I didn't know I had issues. I had no idea I had issues. But once I actually finally went, it did open up my eyes. I tell people all the time, it was like going from standard definition to life being in high definition. So I commend you for taking the step and doing it. And now you're out here, sharing your story. That is big in this thing. It is big to share your story because that is a part of your healing also. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm not telling you to continue, but I'm telling you that it probably will help, if you're still having those thoughts every now and then. Sounds like you got your mechanism, the DJing thing, all of us need it. All of us need it, so keep that going.
Yes, sir.
It took, your wife to, again, sometimes it takes other people. For me, it was actually a radio show that actually had me recognize some of my own characteristics in somebody that was on the radio. And he had went to counseling. And that's what made me go. And I tackled it, and, things just changed for me kind of like, I ain't going to say overnight, but it really did change for me. So, again, man, big ups to you, mad respect to you. Next Saturday, I'm going to put it in my calendar. I'm going to try and get up there and holler at you. We get up there and we'll talk. You smoke cigars?
Yeah, not really.
No, look, Chuck. Let's not do that. You don't. Okay.
It didn't go well. It didn't go well. So y'all know Rima. It didn't go well. Okay. Rima, y'all know how Rima is. So.
All right. Well, one thing I can tell you is, and I don't like saying, I ain't gonna say it as a man, but yeah, don't inhale. I'm gonna say it that way, because when you say it as the other thing as a man, it just don't sound right. You be like, pause. But I'm gonna get up there. I'm gonna get up there and try and holler at you, man. Let's talk a little bit, rap a little bit, and Go ahead.
I did have one question, and then I'm gonna hang up. What do you got? Because I don't know if you talked about it. I might have missed it, but why is it that Black men have such an issue when it comes to mental health, talking to people, going to the doctor in general, but especially with mental health? Why do you guys think that is? And I'll hang up and listen.
We can go down the road with this one, because he gave a great analogy earlier, which messed me, bro. That was dope. So go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Well, I think it goes all the way back to, the Truman Doctrine and taking a black male out of a household, and we've been, as black men in America, we've been told how we should feel, and the standard has been set for us. But nobody, a lot of us, I have my dad and I have my uncles, but a lot of us don't have that role model. So the role model that we look up to is broken. Not knocking rappers, but it's a rapper, it's, athlete, and everybody's not LeBron. LeBron picked up the torch and ran with it. You know, he's actually doing something in the community. Most of them don't. And, you know, you hear the rap, you hear the songs, drugs, everything else, but there's no true black role models, you know, and I think that hurts us as a whole. I mean, people want to say it after the fact, you know, when somebody dies or who represents, but Martin Luther King, who stepped up and grabbed the torch after him? Really, truly, you know, and so that's what hurts us. And, you know, I think as law enforcement, you know, my later years, the best thing that ever happened to me in my last couple of years, I went back to the zone where I started, Zone 1. And I saw young officers, and I had got kind of polarized a little bit dealing with my own people because I didn't see my people. I was only dealing with the worst of the worst of the worst. And going back to a unit that interacted on 911 calls and street-level stuff, I started seeing the cause of why we're at where we're at. And it hasn't changed from the first day I came on the department to now. And that's because fathers are missing in the families are broken, and then when you sprinkle everything else, all the other things into not knocking anything somebody does, but when because everything is a hodgepodge, you know, like the guy said, PSD, you know, everybody has it. Mental health care in the black community, if you step up, it's like before. The only gay we acknowledged in the community was the piano player, the organ player in the church. And with the mental health care, it's going to be the same way. It's going to take something, you know, allowing it to come forward. When more people like you know, you coming out, you know, hopefully your career take off and you can keep on speaking on it. But there's so many people that don't, you know. I mean, I had the same situation since everybody's talking. I've had several shooting incidents since I've been on the department. The first thing you do, you got to go in and talk to a psychiatrist and everything. Dr. Bradford, I'm going to give you a shout out. She helped me a lot. But I'm, you know, 5 minutes into it, they realized I was good with the shoot. But I talked about other things that happened or were happening. And so it gave me a soundboard, and I too go myself occasionally. And so it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something you should look at doing, because especially when you have, like, retiring, that spurred me to go, because I wanted to make sure my mind was right, grasping everything I was going to do in my future. So that's some things, like shows like this, I always tell you to, and toot your horn for you, but it's great to have this, because dialogue is what's going to bring about change in our community.
Angelo?
I think just the stigma, you know, the stigma to black men. I think you touched on it perfectly, you know what I mean? But black men have that stigma of, you know, something has to be wrong with you, or you have to be crazy, or that, you know, that, but not knowing that sometimes you just need that sounding board, that non-judgmental, you know what I mean? And I just think, I think the stigma is the reason why they don't go, you know what I mean? And that I'm not a, you know, that manhood thing, you know. I think that manhood thing, I you know, that male ego, I've always said, is one of the worst things. That male ego is one of the worst things a man can have, man, if you don't know how to control it, because, you know what I mean, it just takes you to levels where you shouldn't be at. And I think it takes, again, dialogue for people to see that there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? And sometimes you need that sounding board, you need that reflection. And we just have to continue to push it, to let men know there's nothing wrong with it, to let men know that you're looking at real men who all had counseling. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with it. So.
Yeah, piggybacking a little bit on what Angelo said, man, it's the stigma, you know, those tags that they put upon it. Back in the day, it was, you know, if you went to therapy, you were crazy. Nobody wanted to be looked upon as if they was crazy. You know, we were taught, you know, shut up and get it done. You know, if something happened, I mean, think about it. When you was a kid, you fell, hurt your knee, hey, man, suck it up, get up, walk it off. You know, and that type of thing sticks with you. You know, now that more people are coming out to talk about it, I think it's going to help. Let's face it, we are a copycat race. Somebody wears their pants backwards, guess what? A lot of other people say, yo, that's pretty cool. I can do it too. Now that we get more people like you, like me, like Titanic over here, talking about coming out with it, like my man, I mean, they're talking about that they've done it, and as Angelo said, we look like real men. You know what I'm saying? We're real men. We're out here, and we're telling you that we did it, and there's no problem with doing it. I think as long as people talk about it more people will get it done. But that stigma sticks on us of, if it's, like I said, it's that ego, that pride. Pride can be something that can help you, and pride can be something that can break you down. One of my mottos is, as a black man, a rites of passage is asking for help. When you can ask for help, you become a man, in my eyes. When you can do that, that's when you've actually become a man. So, again, keep saying what you're saying, bro, and I think that you're going to help getting people to do it more. Titania, did you want to talk about it? Why you think that stigma is out there, why people won't go?
Yeah, well, basically, you covered everything. Just the ego. Nobody really wants to be looked at as, an outsider or, somebody who's having mental issues. Because when people think of mental health, they're not thinking of, you could just be going through something. They thinking of maybe you're crazy in the head or, ADHD or something, some kind of diagnosis that a doctor gives you for mental health. But mental health could be anything. It could be, I just had a stressful day at work. That's messing up my mental. Because now I can be dwelling on that stress, and stress is bad for your body. So it's basically the ego.
Yo, man, got some words, though.
I like Titanic. Yeah, I with me.
I'm telling you. Look, yeah. You notice I started calling you Titanic. At first, I could only call you T, but boy, you done earned Titanic. Go ahead, Rima.
No, what I wanted to add is women are the worst thing that can happen to a man who is driven by his ego. And I'm saying that to say this, because when you start hearing women say that she's not interested in a guy because, he's soft. And it's like, well, I'll say something like, well, what do you mean soft? Well, he just, like he don't have that edge, he always want to talk and, he wants to always try to philosophize something or whatever. That sends me a message that she's probably not had the benefit of what you're talking about, MJ, having that male figure, in the home, or a hard hand on her life, to balance her and have her understand. And I go back to Good Times, the show Good Times.
Yeah, my favorite.
Worst thing that ever happened to black people.
But I looked at Florida Evans. She made it clear to the kids that you don't come before James. And she would not ever, 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 ever disrespect James in front of the kids. She would always take him back there to that bedroom, sit him down, and talk to him.
That part of it. That's that part I think that carried over. You got to realize that's when the Truman Doctrine's in full swing. You couldn't be on welfare and have a black male in the household. And that's why the actor that played James left the show, because they had him as basically, they had him on the show as basically a gorilla, a walking, talking gorilla. He couldn't control his emotions. It fueled the stereotype. He was out of control. Well, he was rage. James, remember when he found that show that they found the money that time? Mm-hmm. Ooh, we rich. Typical project stuff. But the whole thing that comes back to it is that Flo grabbed the Bible, and she thought, go, what would Jesus want? And just to say that it took her to calm him. Well, most black men aren't like that. But I think part of the thing that hurts our community is black men are being raised by just black women. And I applaud my sisters. Sisters are strong. They need that. But I know I raised my sons, and I know they needed a mom, and by not the mom's involved, but they live with me. So when you don't have that in there, it's still, I grew with iron fist, so they didn't get a lot of a soft edge they needed. And so what I'm saying is, when you have a large part of the African-American community is being raised by women, they react that sometimes they're overcharged on their emotion and can't bring them back in and reel them in. So that's what causes a lot of bad interactions with law enforcement. So I'm thinking with mental health care, like the guy said earlier, he was traumatized from an early age. And if we start treating it like that, I think less black youth will be told that they're on ADHD, like you mentioned, and juice them up with medicine because they're hyperactive. No, they're not hyperactive. They're just coming from traumatic situations. If you see, if we go across this whole board, I mean, I grew up in a middle class area, but I knew kids that got killed in high school. And I know if we go around the board, everybody has. Well, that's not normal.
No, it's not.
It's not normal. And so when we look at that, you look at that both parents are in the household, we won't even get into religion here, but when you got all that going against the black community, and it's bad to say you need help. Like you said, it's a macho thing. If somebody rapped and said, and until the right person comes out and says, we don't believe it. Now, LeBron comes out and says, I go to counseling twice a week. Half of black Americans sign up to go to counseling. But
say that again.
I told you, man. It's
that's what it takes. But
we're copycats.
Yeah, exactly. And we talk about that a lot on the show. So, like I said, I wanted the show to be more for the lower end of the spectrum because I know I can take my ass to counseling anytime I want to because I can afford to. And I know everybody else on this board can afford to. But the vast majority of people, let's not blow smoke up people's asses, people. We can't get DFACs to come out on a call because they're overworked. Okay, you can't get help, and that's why I was real interested in what avenues are available for you. Not a special person like you, but I mean for everybody that comes out of the institutions, what's available, and not just the ones that are 15. I'm talking about, I can't imagine getting locked up at 21 and spending 2 years in jail and not, that's the mental part of readjusting to society. I know it's a big change for me going from law enforcement to being a civilian. And it helped me talking it out and what my plans were, just to tell somebody what my plans were for them to say, that's a dumbass plan, Mike. Or it's a good one,
But to your point, you touched on ultimately, I can give you the answer. There is nothing.
That's what I thought, yeah.
There is nothing.
That's why when people talk about the negative part of it, not just the good.
There is nothing. And but I know that there will be something.
That's good.
Sadly, for what you touched on, there will be something when these same issues become a problem for people that don't look like us.
That's why I brought that up.
I know you did. I'm quick. I'm telling you that now.
Yeah, it's sad,
but that's what it's going to take. Because Georgia is almost 20 years behind with what's going on with gangs, right? Well, they only that
That's
far.
because Red Dog.
They only that far behind because it wasn't until it started to get to Alpharetta when those cars started getting broken into in communities that don't look like us. Well, now it's a gang problem. So now something has to be done. But now that, those homes in Alpharetta are broken for the same reasons that homes are broken in our communities, you know what, we need to do something about this now. And that's what I told JT. I said, this is not a one-time segment show. This is just a tip of the iceberg. And because people need it, just being able to talk and share dialogue that's all that counseling and therapy is. It's an open, conversation. Like, my job has never been to tell you what to do. My job is to listen to you, and when you get there, then my job is to say, bingo, because you got to get there on your own. We just guide you, and just keep you on the right road, on the right path. But at the end of the day, you have to get there on your own. And a lot of times, I haven't had any session with anyone that didn't say the same thing. Nobody listens to me. Nobody listens to me. And how they feel their life would have turned out differently if somebody was just, listening. I don't know how many parents that tell me they didn't know that their child was in a gang. And they're not lying. And then me being who I am, how could you not have known? You know, and I always made it mandatory that the parents participate in the sessions with the child, because that's where they're going back to. But when you have a young man say, well, you know, Miss Miller, I don't respect women because my mother's a hoe. There's 6 of us, and we all got different dads, and 4 of us don't even know who our dad is. And then when we ask, she curse us out. I have seen my mother run the game. So that's what I think about women. That's where I think that they're coming from, because all of our first image of a woman was your mother. Your first image of a father, right?
Your dad, yeah.
Your dad. But, well, what if one of the others not there? Well, then the image becomes, you know, either the rapper, the gangster in the community, whoever, whatever.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Right.
Pimp and Slim on the corner.
Right, you know, whoever. They're open to whatever, and usually that whatever is not good.
Very true.
My man, you still there? You already gone? Okay, Miss Hayes, you still there? She had us on mute. Hit that mute button and say something. She got us on hold. Maybe she'll come back. All right, so listen, y'all. Yeah, we rocked and rolled tonight. I just looked up at the clock. We rocked and rolled tonight. But again, you know, mental health, we were going to touch on.
I'm sorry, I kept hitting the mute button.
Okay, I told you. I knew it was that mute button. Hey, listen, I want you to let everybody know where they can find your book at, and you know, and then where they can find you at.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The book is on Amazon.com, and I can be found on social media at slhayes_speaks. That's on IG, Twitter, Facebook, and my website is www.slhayes.com.
Okay, doing it like that. Got your own website and everything. So listen, like I said earlier, I'm hoping that you and Titanic can get together. I think that his story could help with some of your programs. Might be wrong.
Absolutely.
But
Rima knows how to reach me too. Rima has my number.
Yeah. So
You have mine, Shanta.
So I'm hoping.
I do.
I can have. Hey, we're not going to go into why you ain't got my number tonight. We ain't doing that tonight. Listen, I really appreciate you calling. I am going to purchase your book. I want to read, especially if it's on Amazon. I mean, I can just get it on my phone because I don't have glasses with me all the time, so I can't read the books all the time. So again, we really appreciate you calling in.
Absolutely.
We will be reaching out again because you know. We tried to touch on 3 subjects tonight. We didn't get to the third one.
To it.
Yeah, because this thing is so wide. It's such a broad spectrum. You know, when you talk about mental health in our community, and I think you have some things that that you can say that can actually help a lot of people that has not gone to therapy because, like you said, sometimes it's just self-care that can get you through.
Absolutely. The client is the expert on the client.
Okay, cool. We'll be reaching out. Again, we appreciate you calling in.
Thank you.
And stand on
Thank
hold.
you. I look forward to it.
You were very
Thank you.
patient.
Thank you, Shanta.
Hey, my pleasure, Rima.
Okay, well, you have yourself a good evening.
You do the same. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we're going to do some closing remarks because luckily our other engineer is not even here. He'll be mad at us tomorrow. Probably be mad at us later tonight. MJ, man, we didn't even. I didn't even really get to some of the questions I wanted to ask you tonight.
We had subject matter for you.
Yeah. So I mean, you retired, you can come back.
Right.
So we'll have you back because in regards to the law enforcement side of things, man, I think you could really, help on that side of things. Hopefully, there's some law enforcement. I noticed some law enforcement officers that's tuned in because they tell me that they tune in, and plus, your voice carries. I have a funny feeling some of the things you say may actually trickle out to some people to make some things happen. So go ahead and give us some closing remarks.
Well, I'd like to say like Titanic, you the man, and you. I love to see anybody, sister, that dedicates their life to the service of others, and that's what you have. That says a lot about you as a person, for real. And Titanic, keep it in the road, man. You know, you're doing good, and I know it's hard because I get the people that recidivists. That's who I used to deal with, being in fugitive. And like I said, I wish the show would have been more towards the side of why it's not there. So we might have to do it again and
we're
bring
going
politicians. Yeah, because the saddest thing is I know it's not going to work what everybody's saying because everybody doesn't have the money. That's why I asked the brother, do you have the money? It's expensive. And if you can't get a DFACS worker to follow up on a child abuse case, you really think she's going to follow up on something that there's nothing to follow up on? And you're telling somebody to go back into a community where there's no jobs, and then you're telling that person not to do anything illegal, just be broke. Because when he goes to get hired and they see he's a felon, they're looking at him like he's got 3 hits. Yeah, you want my job? No. They smile, they give you lip service. So until they fix that part of it and get them mentally, those people are going to blow up. I mean, you actually sought help and had help, but there's so many that don't have help. And then the institutionalized, the crutches they put on them, when you touch somebody, you know how they used to do, they assume the position or whatever. You know, that's something that's beat into people or from a mental standpoint, a system standpoint. So I'd like to see, you know, like I said, it's probably the best show I enjoy myself being part of. I'll be honest with you.
Definitely. I also want to say, it's basically, I don't know I forgot who touched up on it, but the biggest thing is if we can put people like that in schools to get the kids early on, like in the schools with them, and not just, you know, because some places might have counselors. I don't remember. I can't really remember how school is, but and I don't know how it is now. Some places might have counselors there, but they not really. You know, you gotta have people that's actually talking to the kids that will build a relationship with them, and you know, somebody who the kids can confide to talk to, because they're not just gonna come out to everybody and say, hey, this is what's on my mind, or I have a problem, or they're not gonna say that, but they will talk to somebody who have built a relationship with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can talk to Rima about anything right now. It doesn't matter what it is.
Miss Rima.
I can talk to her about anything. It doesn't matter what it is. But, I mean, before I really got to build that relationship with her, I wouldn't open up about anything. But if you have people who will build that relationship, who will take the time, because it takes time. You know, you can't just think you could talk to somebody and their problem is going to be resolved. That's right. Because it's not. It's got to be a reoccurring event. If I always have a problem, I need to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Even if I just want to vent, just let some stuff out. You don't even have to say anything back. You know, a lot of kids need that.
Absolutely.
It could be something they going through at home. You know, it could be something they going through at school. You just never know. If there's people there in place to talk to them, and you know, it starts with us if we're parents. You know, because if you're a parent, you're supposed to be the first one to attend to your child. You know, so it starts with the parents. But if there's other people, you know, like you were saying, a village to raise them, if there's other people besides the parents that will, you know, hey, this not my child, but I want to help that child, then things will be a lot better in the long run.
Where can they follow you at? Because I know you got that music coming. Go and let them know.
Luxury Titanic _ my bad. Luxury _ Titanic.
Luxury _ Titanic.
Yeah.
Good stuff, brother.
Miss Rima. No pimping, talking to the mic.
Actually, I don't really have any, you know, closing remarks. But I do want to call on my friend over there. Hello?
Dwayne.
D. Did you get the song? Did you get?
Yeah. We're gonna play that before.
Yeah,
we roll
you
out.
know, because I think that you know sums it up, and always thank you, you know, for allowing me to attend. Like I said, I had to fly in. I was doing some stuff for The View, but you know, I had to put that on pause, you know, to be here. I'm always excited, when black men aren't afraid, to tell people what's up.
That's awesome. I'm gonna say this, man. This was an outstanding conversation, and I applaud all the callers and all the panelists, man. This was really good. Titanic, man, keep doing your thing. The callers, great information from each and every one of them. You know, Titanic hit on something, about talking to your kids, and it just reminded me, thought about, I got all boys, so, that made me think just the other day, my youngest son was just laying on the bed. You know what I mean? And I went in there and just sat on the bed with him. Just, hey, man, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? He's 12. You know what I mean? But, with the schools being closed and being at home, and, he just sat up and he just said, I'm just bored. You know what I mean? But I could just see he just wasn't his normal self. You know what I mean? But it just, and I try to reach out to all of them at different times because, I'm on the go a lot. You know what I mean? But I try to make sure I get some time interaction with them. But hearing what Titanic said, you know what I mean? Although I do those things now, you just make me I'm gonna do it times 10. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Times 10. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just because that's so big.
And
That's just so
especially
big.
if he's saying he bored, you don't want him to go get into nothing that he's not supposed to get into.
Yeah,
Because
no
that's
doubt.
how I was. I'm bored. Let me go get into some
Right.
bullshit.
No, it just made me think about it, man. And I applaud that because now, like I said, it's times 10. You know what I mean? Just you got to be involved no matter what your scenario is. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all the callers, man. Some good stuff tonight.
Definitely.
Yeah, this was crazy. We had a lot of callers tonight. As Angelo said, man, it's about listening because sometimes my son will call me, man. He just got in the military, and I'm like, oh man, I know he's about to talk about because he's just getting down, being a grown man, so he wants to talk about every little new thing in his life, because every new thing he want to talk about it. And sometimes I'm like, oh man, I don't think I'm taking this call, but we about to talk about 45 minutes. The game is on, But the good thing is he's an hour behind me, 2 hours behind me, so I'm calling him when I get in the car. It just makes you want to do it more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It makes you want to do it more. I'm actually gonna do it with my stepchildren too. Wow, I got stepkids. And your son is 12. The youngest is 12.
Yeah, man. Birthday, and shoot, next month, about to be 13
Hey
years old.
man, that is crazy because
Ain't it wild?
I mean, feel like I've only known Lo for like 6 or 7 years, and I know I was around when he was born, and way before then. That's crazy, but
Yeah.
totally something else. But listen, again, I am a man that seeked out therapy, and when I tell you it changed my life, I'm not gonna say it saved my life. I think I'd have kept going with my life, but it surely changed my life and let me see life in a different way. It actually taught me things that I didn't know about myself. It released certain things. It taught me to love differently, and it taught me to let myself be loved, honestly. And that's big today. And black men, I'm telling you, all men, but my community is black men and black women also. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want to. Again, counseling doesn't have to be going to see somebody. It could be self-care, start off there, find your own space, sit back and just find some time for yourself. You have to find some time for yourself because you can't be there for others if you're not there for yourself. You can't be better to others if you're not good to yourself. So remember that. And, you touched on something tonight that I think I used this as a closing remark before. All bad things that happen to you is not the devil. Sometimes some of the bad things that happen to you is to push you in a different direction, to go better. So that's actually God, dropping some things in you to change your direction. Looking at things, bad things that happen, and I mean the way you said it, you wouldn't have met her if these certain things didn't happen. That's deep. That's deep right there. So, we are going to touch on this every now and then, man, because, again, mental health is not what do we do, 2.5 hours a night? It's not a 2.5 hour subject. So we will get back on it again. We wanted to hit on mental health within law enforcement. We didn't get there, but we're going to get there also. The mental. Some people already touched on it in regards to mental health on emergency calls. How certain things could have been, handled differently and kept people from getting shot because they had some mental health issues. And the crazy thing on that is, I hate using the word crazy, but the thing on that is, these situations, you actually had to see that it was something wrong. If a man is running around naked in the street, something's not right. He's not doing that for fun. If he is doing it for fun, no, he's not doing it for fun. You have to really, we need that. So we're going to get back to that. Next Tuesday, we will be back at 8:30. I have a feeling, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to be back yet. I have an anniversary coming up, my first year.
How about that already?
Yep, my first year. So
Wow.
my first year being married, counseling did that for me, got me married. Some people probably going to be like, hell no, I ain't going to counseling, going to get me married. But, so Angelo will be holding it down. I just got the word we get back at midnight, so I will be on the airplane when the show is getting down. If for some reason I'm sitting in the airport, I will call in. But we will be up and going, so Classic Conversations will be back again next week. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all the telephone calls, all the text messages that's come in, all the comments on my live. You people out there on the live, I'm telling you, man, y'all got to subscribe. You said stuff was a little shaky on my live. Well, go to the other one. Go to the link and you'll get it. Subscribe. Well, I said it 4 times in a row.
How about that?
So that will do. Hey, Comedy Club, who's there this week?
Glad you said that, because somebody did text me that too. This weekend, starting tomorrow, we start off Crab Legs and Comedy with Mr. Inappropriate and Hershey Entertain. Hershey Does It All. Crab Legs and Comedy, man, is going to be a great variety. It ain't just comedy, it's going to be a variety show. They got some really big things popping. Thursday night, Erica Duchess, man, she was part of RatchetPeople.com. That group theirs was been going for a long time. That's where DC Youngfly actually came from, that particular group. She's doing filming her live comedy special Thursday night. We're really excited about that. This weekend we got Rashawn Reese and Hot Sauce Glover out of New Jersey, Hot Sauce out of DC, and got my boy Timmy Hall out of New York. Timmy Hall is actually a police officer, but this dude is hilarious. So we got a big weekend of comedy and Tripping on Sundays. Clay got some amazing things happening for his birthday party, man. And if you know Tripping on Sundays, man, there's no telling who's going to be in the audience. And he's already told me a couple of them. I ain't going to name them, but it's going to be the who's who of the ATL. You better believe that. That's all I'm going to say. So there it is.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and sign out. But listen, this is one of the books that I co-authored, and it's talking about my time in counseling. So it is called Life, Love, and Lockup Volume 2. My Pain Became My Character. There is actually on Amazon, and you can get it for the low right now. I think for the rest of the month, it's like $1.99, so you can get that digital copy. Is that me or that's you? Okay. You can get that digital copy up there. Let y'all see it right there. That's right. I Am Chapter 2. So make sure that you go on out and cop that one. I don't have I'll talk about the other one the next time or more, because you can purchase that directly from me. Now that I see that my words actually mean something, and I actually knew that they meant something. It was just,
I'm trying to back out.
I was trying to not overstep my boundaries, but I understand there's really no boundaries in this, because again, some of us all need some type of counseling, whether it's just with your friend, whether it's just with somebody. In Kroger, I ain't saying just stop nobody, start giving them all your issues, but sometimes you just need an unbiased opinion. So that will do it for this week, man.
And the closing song is gonna be Titanic song, right?
Yes, sir.
So everybody stay tuned. Don't hang up. Don't close out. We're gonna play Titanic song. This is written. What's the name of it? Miss Miller.
Miss Miller. It's a thank you song to Miss Miller for stepping into his life.
Yeah.
We're gonna play that one. Can you play Sagas right after that one? Okay, so 2 songs coming up right now. So man, y'all stay tuned for that. But we are gonna be out.
She had me taking the vision, but Nobody else believed me. She told me that you can get it, told me that you could achieve it, but you just gon' have to believe it. Miss Miller, 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 Miss Miller. Realistic, and it don't get no more real. No, it don't get no more umbrella. It don't get no more real. I'm cold. I should go get a chinchilla. Get a chinchilla? Go, hey. I should have been a gorilla. I didn't know my potential till I went and made Miss Miller. Ballin' like I play for Clemson. I'm shooting like I was a hitter. She gon' cut out all the BS. Chop it like it was the Steelers. This rap game, I've been killing it. Oh, like I had to pull the trigger. Never blending with the crowd. I ain't with the camouflage. 10 years for armed robbery. Had to put my life on pause. Ooh, we'll take Christmas like the Grinch. Didn't believe in Santa Claus. Used to do it for the money. Now I do it for the cause. I'ma keep on going hard till they decide to put me in my coffin. I was living in the dark till she told me you're becoming a star. Yeah, a star. It's Miller time.
I don't speak as a Democrat or a Republican nor an American. I speak as a victim of America's so-called democracy. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. If you go to jail, so what? If you're black, you were born in jail.
Let's start with the abuse of the power. These cowards plucking black lives like flowers. No remorse, while the screams of our mothers get louder. Each encounter gets encountered with a Facebook Live. And still that's not saving our lives. I ain't making up lies. I know you seeing social media. They beating us and treating us so devious. Shooting us then leaving us. Provoking us then choking us. But wanting respect or want answers with your knees on our neck. I can't breathe. Eating my Skittles while I scribble my notes. Contemplating on how I should vote. Got my back on the ropes. I'm from a hood where we learn from our losses. They come from a hood where they burning them crosses. We ain't the same. Panic's at an all-time high. I try hard saying I won't cry. Leave the house hoping I don't die. Looking up to the sky. Say a prayer hoping I survive. Anthony Hill, 26-year-old war veteran, was at an apartment complex in Atlanta where someone said he was crawling around naked, knocking on doors, acting deranged, so they called the cops. Now instead of showing up and giving this veteran the proper help that he needed, he was shot twice and killed, unarmed and naked. Yo, these kids supposed to be the future, but they shooting them down. Over toy guns and music, they get stretched on the ground. It's cause they skin brown. They gotta drown in their own blood. While these cops getting slapped on the wrist by a judge. No accountability for what we see. Are you kidding me? They don't de-escalate no more. They shoot and go free. Unjustified justification. We playing in funerals while they playing in vacations. They get gratification. One nation under two different laws. The motivation needs no explanation. The system is flawed. They shooting up the mall, even killing in churches. With proof they get away with the murder. We can't break up a fight, have a broken tail light, or just run. If your phone is in your hand, they still screaming a gun. Get your wallet out your pocket, they get scared cause you black. Or kick in your door, put two in your back, and have the wrong address. 22-year-old Kane Rogers